What's going on? 6 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Titans were on the field for OTAs yesterday. Took a little pit stop after practice to talk to the media. The Titans' newest addition of Tyler Boyd was asked what made him feel so comfortable in choosing the Titans. This is what he had to say.
Yeah, I knew they was always interested from the beginning, knowing that Callahan came and just having a guy that knows the system, and that can come out here and help guys. That was a favorable team that I would want to be a part of because of him and the system. I know it real well, and everywhere I went was cool and fine. It felt good, but this just felt like home to me.
Speaking of playmakers, quite a few were sitting out of OTAs. On the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb was not present for the OTAs. 49ers facing a similar issue. Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk were also nowhere to be found in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan isn't worried, though, citing the 2022 offense where Debo took a similar approach to getting paid. And in the NBA, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Pacers choke. Up 3 with 11 seconds to go. Jaylen Brown hits a huge three to send it into overtime. Celtics take it in overtime, 133-128. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome to the middle of your week. Wednesday morning starts right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And RKW is brewed up by 8th and Rose. 615-737-1045. Tuesday, OTAs, Titans takeaways. Say that 5 times fast. We got that for you all morning long. Lloyd Cushenberry, Tennessee Titans first-year center, joins us at 7 o'clock. Titans Radio's Rhett, Bryan at 9. Midweek motivation with Inky Johnson and much more on the phone lines at 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. It is Wednesday, May the 22nd. And we had some football to watch yesterday. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning,
man.
everyone.
When you give the day like that, it is Wednesday. It almost feels like it is Friday, and we gonna act like
I was
no lie.
thinking the
It
same
sounded
thing.
just like that. Well, I appreciate you keeping consistency. I talked about it yesterday, and it was consistent. Today made me feel like it was Friday, and it's only Wednesday, my brethren.
I think Wednesday is when that hits with the tone like acting like a little bit more like Friday, because every time he does introduce it, I actually in my head then wait for the song, and then I realize it is not Friday yet.
No,
but that's okay. It's hump day.
You'll know it when it is.
Right?
Yeah, I promise you we're going to know
We'll
it when
take
it
it.
is. And I know I said this yesterday, but the parents going to know too, because refrigerators are about to be bare. Internet is about to be through the roof. Food, okay, and AC and bills. Broken things in the house. Kids are out of school starting today for most of Middle Tennessee.
Look at that. Here we go. Memorial Day weekend this weekend.
Memorial Day weekend, got a few things going on. Hopefully if the cicadas don't keep everybody away.
Well, they hit me this morning. They were attacking people at practice yesterday. Several female reporters, colleagues of mine, had them in their hair.
Did they?
That was fun.
Oh, that
Doesn't surprise me.
That'll freak me out. I'm gonna be real with you. If I had that much hair, I don't have that much hair, so I can just
they all
knock
had
it
like
off of
really
mine.
long
Yeah.
hair. So
I can just knock it off of mine, man. But good day yesterday, huh, Kayla?
yeah, it was good. It was scorching hot out there too, so it made you kind of think like we're in training camp mode a little bit, even though this is the first OTAs that we've seen. Obviously they took part in OTAs on Monday, but yeah, it was a scorcher out there, but really cool just to see the kind of difference in this setup and how practice is ran and what these drills are like. It does take some getting used to, I will say, being a reporter that goes out there and with a different coaching staff, you're used to routine, just like I'm sure some of these players who have been here since the Vrabel era are used to that routine. It's nice to see kind of a reset and just some refreshing new ways of doing things. And that's what happens when you bring in a new head coach and a new coaching staff. But yeah, we're going to get to a lot of great stuff, but everything you can think of in terms of some of the new players out there that you saw what their potential is. It's really exciting to see that firsthand.
I saw Terry McCormick tweeted, saw more passes thrown today at Titans practice than in a week under previous regimes. That's crazy. Seems like a bit of a overreaction, but respectfully to Terry. But that's interesting.
That's crazy. Two things real quick. One, I am proud, that the good Lord continues to just blast sun down here in Tennessee during practice days, okay? That was one thing I wanted as a former player. Is like just to know that it's hot as hell outside for them while practicing, Kayla.
Yep.
And it holds true, okay? There was nothing worse than going out there knowing that you got to break your back to go work, and the next thing you know, it's just hot, and we got to be out here, and it's hot, and it's humid. Thank you, okay? Consistency is all I ask, all right? So I'm glad that you acknowledged that it was hot, even to you. And the other thing is, your boy cannot follow navigational directions.
Yeah, you want to get into this?
Yeah, please do. And then I'm apologize for your missed call the first time. I called you back, but
I was just done at that time.
Yeah, I was like, uh-oh.
I went to an establishment yesterday, pick up a quick little coffee and snack on my way to on the way to practice. One, they had already line stepped to me, okay? Like, I put my order in before two people behind me, and I'm like, okay. I was like, where's I got an iced coffee and I got a small little snack here, okay? Like, that's what we're doing. And dude looks over me, he's like, you don't have your stuff? And of course, at that time, my face is showing like, all right, y'all are messing up. So, I don't have my stuff. So I'm like, all right, Moan, just stay cool, okay? Your presence is probably intimidating the heck out of them anyway. So just be cool. Be cool, Mom. At some point, I'm going to stop being cool, okay? And just like, where the hell is my stuff? I was that close to doing that, but it was a little baby in the establishment, okay?
So
I let it alone.
It professional.
So I was like, all right, cool. Got my stuff, pull off, and let me go to practice. I pull up to Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, and there's a roadblock there. A detour. I'm like, all right, let me figure this thing on out.
Sure.
I'm turning left to go where the detour is sending me. And then I go into this parking lot by those office buildings.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I was like, all right, so there has to be a bridge somewhere. I see the facility.
Yep.
I see people on the practice field. And then I get out of that establishment parking lot, come back around. I go across the street. I think it's Cigna. I think it's right across the street from over. I'm like, oh, okay. Is there a bridge? Not a bridge, man. My navigational skills were so bad. I drove where the detour told me all the way around the block, and I ended up on Clarksville Highway. I was over there by Trinity Lane before I got super frustrated. I called Kayla. I called Rhett. And at that point, nobody answered. And I was just like, this is the worst. Oh, that's all. Like, I was so frustrated yesterday. I would have been no good at practice. And I let Coach Mack down, too, because he was like, hey, let me know. He called me during the show yesterday.
Well, I heard him yesterday.
Yes. He was like, let me know what you think of the O-line dress. And I'm like, I'm excited. You ever had that moment where you were just so set and it got, I ain't gonna say it got ruined. Kayla was thug life yesterday. She went right through the barrier.
Well, and that's why I was going to actually applaud your rule following, Ramon Foster. I mean, it's exquisite.
I got to break more rules.
This guy is following the rules of the detours. And you know what?
You know what's crazy about the detour sign?
Yeah.
There was not another detour sign up. Like, all right, for Titans practice, turn this way.
Right.
And it's not that they had to do it. I think this was a city thing. I think they're fixing
And
a
I don't
bridge
even
or
know
something.
what they're really doing, to tell you the truth, Ramon, because I drove right past it like I have the past several times, and I didn't see any kind of construction. So I don't know if this is something to perturb people from coming to practice because they don't want anybody there. I'm joking. But I'm sorry, Ramon. That's
I was
frustrating.
like, no, don't you apologize. I should have just bucked the system like I was actually a player, you know, just in those points I would have just rolled through. Now I'm trying to follow direction. And then when I'm about to like go across the street, there was this guy behind me. I'm looking at the UPS truck across the street and I'm not turning right. And there's a car coming by, okay? And this dude goes around me to turn right. I lock eyes with the UPS delivery man across the street, and he throws his hands up like, what's wrong with that guy? He was just, I guess, trying to go to lunch real fast. It was around lunchtime, but I didn't make it through, and I felt just so like I had a fifth grade education at the time.
That's
I was like, how do you not? I should have broke the rules,
know
Kayla.
not to.
I should have broke the rules.
Chris on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will writes in, Ramon needs car service ASAP.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that?
Car service?
Like not Uber, but just maybe like a professional car.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Numerous times. I actually had a guy in Hendersonville who I ended up taking from Uber. Not take from Uber, but
No
with those
way.
guys that drive black cars and
Yeah,
stuff.
they do Uber too.
Oh, they can't wait to, hey, here's my card.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't use Uber. Use me directly.
instead.
Used that before too.
You've done that before? Oh my gosh. I want to call him now,
I
to
was gonna
paint a
say,
picture.
when you go to
my-
practice.
He's my driver now.
I would travel to a lot of these track meet broadcasts, but I wasn't 25 yet, so I couldn't rent a car. So that was my only option. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
What was that last year?
I'm telling you, man.
Couple
Years
years ago.
ago.
Oh no, he got
goodness.
a text. See, we know the minute like he received
This
something.
is so on par from
boy.
Austin Stanley.
Oh no.
He texted me and said, you should have done what Scotty Scheffler did through the roadblock.
Except you would have name dropped yourself a lot more quickly
Yes,
than
he-
Scotty Scheffler did.
You know who I am?
You would not have name dropped yourself for the first time when they were asking if you wanted a sandwich in prison.
Right.
No, I heard he went through the whole process.
Yeah, they said, "Do you want the whole
Nuts.
experience?" And he said, "Sure, I'll take a sandwich." 615-737-1045. We do not need directions on how to get to our next segment where we give you everything you need to know from the Titans practice field. Our OTAs takeaways are next. Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling. NetSuite's Business Grows Here event is coming to Nashville Tuesday, June 25th. Don't miss it. Why Nashville? Well, because NetSuite knows Nashville is a hub for entrepreneurs with forward-thinking founders, a top talent pool, a pro-business leadership. You got to apply to attend the business event of the year. Business Grows Here, taking place at the Conrad Hotel Tuesday, June 25th. You'll learn how Tennessee is paving the way for new business growth in capital. You'll see how technology fueled by AI is shaping the way we grow and run our businesses. And you'll be inspired by leaders who have built and led billion-dollar businesses like Jamie Siminoff, founder of Ring Video Doorbell, and Burke Nihill, CEO of the Tennessee Titans. NetSuite by Oracle, Business Grows Here is free to attend. You just got to apply right now to find out because seats are going quickly. Block out your calendar Tuesday, June 25th. Apply right now at netsuite.com/Nashville. That's netsuite.com/Nashville. Wednesday morning, kicking off the show. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. 615-737-1045. And a half hour, Lloyd Cushenberry, Tennessee Titans center, will join us right at 7 o'clock as we begin hour number 2. You can stream the show live on 1045 The Zone TV and subscribe to listen to the podcast channel wherever you download podcasts under Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Kayla, the number one thing that stood out yesterday at Titans OTAs to you was what?
I just think looking at some of the skill positions, and on paper right now, I know it's just on paper and we're just in OTAs, but specifically watching that wide receiver, group, it was different. And just in terms of from the start, you've seen guys like Calvin Ridley, and I know it's just a portion of practice that we're able to film and able to watch, but the just kind of like crispness and just the presence that they bring to that room, where in the past, this early on in the season, not having all of those veterans with that type of experience, you kind of notice it, right? There's just a lot of, guys not running like as crisp of routes. But with these guys, and I'm specifically talking about the veterans, including Tyler Boyd, who, by the way, got here yesterday, just the seamlessness, I think, like watching them from the start is just incredible to see the upgrade at that position in particular. So I told you I was going to watch a lot of that group.
Yeah.
I also just felt like with Will Levis, the instant chemistry that he's starting to build with these guys, that a lot of them are new. And he has, the Kyle Phillips, the Traylon Burks, and DeAndre Hopkins from last year. But I think just the honesty, too, between Will Levis and these new guys, there was a lot of talking in between drills yesterday, a lot of discussion amongst the position groups. I saw it specifically with Traylon Burks and Calvin Ridley, with Traylon Burks picking Calvin Ridley's brain. But again, I saw it in different groups yesterday. It looks like there's a lot of just these guys, these new guys, getting to know each other on the field, and just ways of doing things instantly. Like, hey, how about this technique? What should I do better with this? I thought that was really cool to see, just in a setting where they've only been on the field really together for 2 days.
How crisp was it as far as like the way they not necessarily run their routes, but just the operation of I saw Levis versus Mason, like the way they operated the offense too. Did you see a little bit more, I guess, crispness to how the offense was run?
Yeah, and look, this is new in terms of me watching how they do the drills, because you get so used to this drill comes after this drill, right? And for the quarterback room specifically, yeah, I would say that with Mason Rudolph being new here and clearly taking reps as the second quarterback, everything was really like, okay, crisp in terms of, okay, Levis is up. All right, these guys are up. And there was some intermixing too with the first team, second team in certain situations. 7-on-7s, you saw different situations where they would throw, Traylon with the second team.
Okay.
And then maybe they would put him with Levis at a point. So there was some intermixing too with, the first reps, second reps, third reps, more so Malik Willis and some of those third guys.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that in a while. That's crazy, that conversation.
Yeah.
Will Levis was 7 for 10 in 7-on-7 drills. Had a good throw. The Titans actually tweeted out video of over the middle to Josh Wiley. Jim Wyatt wrote that he had a no-look pass during a 7-on-7 period, but was also inaccurate on a couple of throws, one specifically to Ridley and one as well to DeAndre Hopkins. This was Brian Callahan after practice yesterday talking to the media about Levis and those wide receivers.
Will's done a really nice job, and I think that having the veteran guys, if you watch, I watched Calvin and I watched Tyler today even, just their natural inclination is to go up and talk about something, go talk about a route, go talk about an adjustment, where that doesn't fall on Will to have to do to the receivers. They sort of help with their experience with him, sharing perspective, sharing a thought process on any number of things that involves the pass pattern, the route technique. Those guys have a great feel and understand football as good as anybody. And so it falls less on Will to make corrections as it is to those guys having conversations, which I think is a huge benefit for a young quarterback to have those guys.
I saw our friend Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus tweeted out a video of Calvin Ridley from Jim Wyatt yesterday at practice, said Calvin Ridley is the all-time on-air rep champion.
Yep.
Just the nature of what he's good at. Very conducive to looking very pretty and smooth when there's not a defense. And sometimes when there is a defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want. Work like it's a defense out there, right? Good on him now. And looking on what Jimmy had to say yesterday, too, it just said he looked explosive coming off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I saw the clip in particular that he put out. And he tweeted out, Calvin Ridley did, in terms of this camp, and what he wants to put into it. Almost like, new year, reset again. Like he wants to come out and prove that he can be not only that guy in practice that's running crisp routes and coming off the line, right? But he wants to be that guy throughout the season. I think that's just a good way to start the year off. Like, I'm going to be serious about this from start to finish.
Calvin really runs like somebody who's like all their life just like a badass kid. Just like, okay, that kid's been bad all his life. He's quick with it. He's fast. He's been that way all his life. It seems like the way he runs, man. You
know what's wild about that too, Ramon and Will, is looking at him in person for the first time on the field, because we saw him at the podium when he spoke to us. He's a lot smaller than I thought he was. And maybe that's giving more credit, too, to that room that he's around now. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is not a small guy. Obviously, Treylon Burks is not a small guy. Tyler Boyd is actually, for a slot guy, a little bit
He's the
bigger
one, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and then you look at Calvin Ridley, and look, he's a small guy, but that goes to show why he's able to do the things he's able to do with the speed in particular.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at the sizes of some of these guys whenever you first meet them in person. I think probably the same thing if you never ran into Tajay. Tajay's not super imposing as far as size-wise, but he's a playmaker. Kamara. I think it's Kamara.
Oh,
kind of like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's somewhat.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
person,
You'd be
yeah.
surprised.
Looks like a normal dude.
You break all these tackles?
Wild, huh?
Tajay Spears, who's on 3HL today.
Yeah, he is on 3HL today.
Man, and it looks different seeing him in 2, you guys. I really had to a couple times, make sure that was him, because he was 32 last year. He has switched his number to 2.
Yep.
So,
how different is practice under Brian Callahan versus Mike Vrabel?
not a lot of yelling. And I'm not trying to diss on the previous staff,
Call it exactly
but I
as
am
it is,
saying
yeah.
that is a definite difference in terms of not a lot of, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And sometimes there were, words of choice in there, and sometimes there weren't, but there was a lot of yelling at practice. And at this practice, I actually found it kind of hard at times to find Brian Callahan, because he kind of blends in with the other guys, and Vrabel was so easy to point out, but he was also very loud. The most yelling that goes on, and it's the type of yelling that you want to get a part of, is Bill Callahan and the offensive line.
No surprise there.
Yeah.
No
And that's the
surprise
kind of ones
there.
that you're like, let's go. Like Latham's pushing up Bertha or Olga, whatever it is. And the O-line's getting involved with him, and Bill's.
Yeah.
It's just a really good energy.
So the yelling aspect of it's just and each coach is different too, to your point. But like you said, there's a sense of player led instruction going on more than it is coach led, hey, do it this type of way. That's fascinating to see how it's going to turn out. We really went from hot to cold on just the way these teams have been perceived to be out on the field. So it will be fascinating to see what the response is like from players and how they handle a coach just a little bit more behind the scenes. And again, if he's already said that, this guy's going up to Will Levis trying to correct him, I think that's a huge thing for this team.
I do too, because especially he has those veteran wide receivers who have done it with different quarterbacks. And I loved how Callahan said, it's not always going to be right away Will having to correct them. They, at some point early on, have to do that too, because they need to know what they want and tell him, he's still new.
Brian Callahan was also asked about the running back position, as we start by focusing on some of the skill players who were out there on the practice field yesterday, and specifically was asked a good question about how he differentiates the skill sets between Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears.
That's a good question. I think Tajay's got a little bit a different route running ability, and Tony's he's a smoother runner. They're both really explosive. Those guys are the ones I'm probably, of all the of all the groups that we have, I think those guys are the ones that are the most exciting for me. Just all the different places you can put those guys in the formation, all the different ways you can get them the ball in the screen game, in the passing game. Really, really excited about what they've shown so far. Those guys are two really fantastic players. I'm happy we have those guys.
That is interesting. Brian Callahan saying that is the position that gets me the most excited right now. Why do you think that is?
Because it changes the way you run the ball, how you set up to run the ball, and also you try to find immediate mix matches with the defense at all points. Again, the running backs in today's game, we look at them do the one thing, run the ball, right? The ones that have that effect of being able to be good in space. We talked about Alvin Kamara, right? Him being one of those guys that you can put in space and create a different style of offense for. We saw what the Saints did with him. We saw, and again, a guy that I play with, Le'Veon Bell, having the ability to line up and running back and move out to the slot. Like, that changes the defense. It forces the defense to put a smaller put a sub package out there, or dime or nickel, and it makes it, well, you salivate at those moments right there. And I know I'm overhyping this. No, I'm not overhyping. I've played in this. Okay, I have been in the offense to where we bring in 4 wide receivers and a running back, and we line them up. And from that point right there, shift to the slot.
Yep.
And it changes the entire game. You find guys where you find teams where the defense is on their heels. And when you can dictate what they do, it changes the way you play call. So hearing him salivate over the fact that Tajay's a better catcher, or that you have Tony Pollard in the backfield who's just as smooth and silky, it opens up every friggin' thing that you're capable of. Like, he's got to be a mad genius with these two dudes. Like, I know the value of the running back is a little bit lower than it has been in years past, well, decades past. But having these two types of dudes, I think, changes and takes the offense to a different level, more than probably the wide receivers do. Because at the end of the day, I know I got a running back or two that can get me 5 to 7 yards if I got to dump down to him. And we've seen the way Tajay have made people miss. Like, I'm sure for Bryan Callahan, having the ability to see him in person do work is a whole lot different than watching him on tape.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I don't think people have talked enough about this running back duo. We've mentioned them, but most of the talk has centered around the wide receiver room and the boasting of it with the talent they have. But yeah, you spoke about Brian Callahan getting excited about it. And when I asked DeAndre Hopkins about it yesterday, I mean, he lit up when it came to both Tajay and Tony Pollard. Like, he really, I feel like, believes that these guys could be a major piece to this offense. You mentioned just the confusion that it can create, and that's one of the main things Will Levis said last week. He said, I can't wait. I mean, this can be confusing offense. Not for me, for defenses.
You can go heavy, Will, with either one of them dudes in and still have the ability to go downfield.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just think, too, you have guys that can turn a basic math equation into trigonometry. And that is what you have not had in this offense very much outside of A.J. Brown, is a guy that can make a 5-yard slant be a 50-yard completion. And that is where we talk a lot about the numbers at the end of the season for Will Levis. That could be helped a lot by the yards after catch ability of his two running backs.
It could. And again, when you can put a defense on his heels, or hey, if somebody goes down as far as a receiver goes, and you still have the ability to have a fourth receiver out there, it changes all things. It somewhat makes the offensive line job a little bit easier because the ball is going quicker. You have smaller guys in at time to where you have to have we talk about it right now. Who's going to be the first, second, third down linebacker for this squad? And it's not just here in Nashville. Other teams are trying to figure that type stuff out too. So that's where it becomes problematic for defenses to figure out who's going to guard him. Do we bring in another safety? We bring in another safety. The way Bill Callahan is training up this offensive line, and the expectation, let's go there, just the expectation that this O-line is supposed to be better in the run game, should be more disciplined, have better technique. That's where if you put a dime in the box on defense because of the two running backs, or nickel even, then you have the ability to move the line of scrimmage effortlessly.
Well, as an offensive lineman, if you give up a half a step to a D lineman now, that doesn't cost you as much as it did with Derrick Henry. You've got running backs that can operate more in a phone booth behind the line of scrimmage and allow you as a blocker, at least the way I see it, to not be as clean on every single rep. That was the thing about Derrick, was if you were good, he was gone. And it was going to be a a big double or triple or home run. But the bunts were becoming far too common because he needed to get to his second or third step, and those linemen were not allowing him to get to his second or third step.
But because, again, to your point about knowing what you're going to do when Derek's lined up in the I formation,
Right.
it was too obvious.
Yeah, it's fair. Guys who were not there yesterday, of course, all the OTAs are voluntary. Overall attendance has certainly not been bad. Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, L'Jarius Sneed, among the veterans not on the practice field. Tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere, who we'll talk about a little later because Bryan Callahan answered a question from Kayla about him and about an ailment for him. Jalen Duncan, Kenneth Murray, TK McClendon, and Colton Dowell. Of course, the rehab process continuing for Colton Dowell, I would imagine. Titans defense coordinator Denard Wilson, of course, not there. We've spoken about that. He is at the NFL's Coach Accelerator program at the NFL Spring League meetings here in Nashville, in fact. And the Titans are back on the practice field tomorrow. And the next open session will be next Wednesday. Ramon, did you ever miss an OTA practice?
I never miss an OTA practice.
How common is it? How worrying is it for, and I'm not going to put Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed, and Harold Landry in that because those are your 5-star defensive blue chip players, and they probably earned the right to do their own thing in late May. But how much would you guys side-eye that in a locker room?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Well, you got to look at my position. I play offensive line. So O-line missing, this is like, well, that's one of the 5 that's gone. Like, what the heck are you doing? Because we got to build this cohesion up. That's why I think it's different from a defensive lineman than it is, or defensive players, the ones that you somewhat reeled off right there, because defense can be chaotic and still get to the main goal, right? Make a tackle or get an interception. They can have mess ups. The attendance for the offense, for the most part, is close to 100%.
Seems like it, other than NPF, who was rehabbing, according to Bryan Callahan and Jalen Duncan.
And see, that's the difference right there. The offense has to be 11 working as 1. The defense can be 5 getting to the ball and the other 6, busted on the play. That's the difference between them. And then the other thing that we've spoken about too, as far as Jeff not being in, Harold not being in, and others, is what is the backups behind them are looking like. So the defensive coaches probably look at it like, Jeff, stay out. Let these young guys get better so we can see what kind of product we have.
615-737-1045 is our number. We'll talk more about the guys that were missing coming up at 7:20 specifically and continue that conversation. We've got all morning to break down what happened at Titans OTAs yesterday, taking your phone calls at 615-737-1045. But coming up next, there is some breaking NFL news on something that will be declared in the league from Nashville later today. That's next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
If you're getting engaged this spring, don't make her settle for one of those knockoff mass-produced rings you find at most jewelry stores. Get to Genesis Diamonds and get her that one-of-a-kind ring she really wants from a world-class designer. Genesis Diamonds has the rings on every woman's wish list. Truly handcrafted rings made here in the USA. Names like Tacori, Viraggio, and Henry Dowsey, and dozens more. Other stores are not even allowed to sell these amazing brands, but you can get them at Genesis. They've got all the best brands. And because Genesis is a direct diamond importer, you get the best prices on diamonds, and you can choose between natural and lab-grown diamonds. So you can get the total package at Genesis. One-of-a-kind rings and great diamonds at an amazing value price. And remember, unlike other stores, at Genesis, there are no commission salespeople. The experts at Genesis are there to help you, not push you. Zero pressure and no pricing games whatsoever. Genesis is family-owned. They have an incredible reputation, known for doing business the right way and with honesty and with integrity. Genesis Diamonds, the only jeweler I recommend for quality, selection, and value. You can't beat them. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Wednesday morning rolls on in hour one. Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Roast. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. And in 2026, it appears the NFL draft is headed to a place that Ramon Foster knows very well. Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports writes on Twitter this morning, at the NFL league meetings here in Nashville, there is a strong sense that Pittsburgh will be awarded the 2026 NFL draft. Announcement later today is possible. Damn. What do we think? Robert Walsh is punching the air right now.
He is punching the air right now. Good for Pittsburgh. I didn't think they'd get an event like an NFL event like this because it may be teetering on being cold there a little bit, and it's outdoor. I just want to know what street they're actually doing it on. Maybe Art Rooney Ave. I'm not sure because there's not a whole lot of places around Pittsburgh where I say, oh, yeah, this is perfect. Like, they don't have a Broadway. Like, they don't have one of those main strips other than the South Side, which is, you don't want to go on the South Side, okay? But it'll probably have to be around the stadium, in front of the stadium, the same way they have some of those big festivals. Great for Pittsburgh getting it. Again, I've spoke about them getting those G5 summits, I think. So they have the facilities as far as hotels to host it. It's just a matter of how they're going to look when they do it. I think the numbers may be way smaller, though, than other places.
Well, you look at the trend in the past 3 drafts that we're going to see, and we just got done with Detroit, and you mentioned colder weather cities, and at that time of the year, I mean, I'm assuming all of these are probably going to be outside with Green Bay coming up next, but Detroit was outside. For the most part, the weather was okay. They beat Nashville in terms of attendance, but that's a really strong fan base. Then you go to Green Bay this next year. I think that is really unique, and in a weird way, I will love to see how they pull that all off. Because also hosting all those people, like Green Bay is not a major city by any means. And a lot of people will be staying further away, probably in Milwaukee, that are doing the draft experience. That's also a cold weather city, but a great fan base. And now you're seeing them, looks like to award Pittsburgh with it. Same thing. Really strong fan base. Yeah. Colder weather city, kind of a more unique atmosphere, you would think. So it's different in terms of how they're picking these things in terms of the draft in the cities. But it looks like they love the fact that these really strong fan bases come out and support their, city.
I like it. I like the middle markets getting love. Having grown up in one. I like the cities that are not your traditional cities to have events. Yeah. Being able to do events. Pittsburgh city officials have said they expect anywhere from 300,000 to 350,000 people. Of course, Nashville had 600,000. Yeah. But,
it's got a nice waterfront. Pittsburgh does. It'll be a beautiful setup, I'm sure. Yeah. Definitely. I like the idea of it, most definitely.
Let's go to Roy in Nashville, talking about the Titans running game this morning, 615-737-1045. What's up, Roy?
Hey, what's up? Tighten up, y'all.
Morning.
Obviously, off-season moves, free agent moves, drafts, we can kind of see that this team, I've been a fan since day one, so this wide receiver group we got, granted older guys, but probably one of the best ones I can remember ever. You can see that, we're going to be passing a lot more, and I get that, but we've been spoiled since 97, great running backs. We've had legends there, hard-nosed runners. But with that being said, obviously, Spears and Pollard are your primary backs, but if one of those guys goes down, we got Haskins still around, Chestnut, Dylan Johnson, Small. What guy, I mean, obviously those rookies had to earn their stripes, but what guy do you see, if one of those guys goes down, is going to step up, or have you seen anything, obviously OTAs are going on, but what's the next man up? If something happens, God forbid something happens, you're still going to have a running game, but what guy do you see, being intrigued and possibly, stepping up in that role?
Yeah. Thanks, Roy. I think that's one of the bigger questions the Titans have right now. I think, honestly, if you were asking me if something happened in week 3, I think it's whoever the best free agent running back is that's available at that point. I mean, Deontay Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard were guys who were added in the flow of the season. It doesn't always have to be at running back, a guy who's right in your roster already because that's a position you can pick up the playbook on Tuesday and play on the following Sunday.
No doubt. I had that question as we were speaking about in my mind about Pollard and Tajay earlier. It's just like, okay, you got your two scat backs. And I know Tajay's a guy that, prides himself on running in between the tackles. And Tony Pollard has also. But, like, at some point on your roster, you do have to have that big bruiser that, okay, all right, 4-minute football, let's go. You're going straight downhill. There's nowhere else you need to go. And, of course, the size of those two guys is not like the size of Julius Chestnut, who's I think like 5'11", 228. You got a thicker back. So those are questions that have to be answered. As it pertains to what happens if one of them go down, I think because you have two guys that are just alike, you don't really lose the offense for the most part. You understand, all right, you got, you're probably showing your card a little bit more if one is out. But the DNA of finding that bruiser, finding somebody that you can rely on, again, Haskins has to be the freshest player in the entire NFL.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, Hassan Haskins, he's still here, and that makes me think that they're still going to give him an opportunity. If there's any back that's in right now in terms of a bigger back in that room, it's him. And so we'll see what happens with that. He's got a lot to prove, though. I mean, he hasn't played football for about a year now, and he's got to be able to prove to them that he is worthy of a spot on this team. It would be nice to see a bigger back like that get a spot, but there's a lot of work to be done, like I mentioned. I would also say, keep your eye on some of these guys that have been invited or that are, signed undrafted free agent contracts. Dylan Johnson is that guy that at Washington, he does the dirty stuff. He's a hard-nosed player, but again, that's kind of an out of chance opportunity. He's really got to make something of it. But yeah, if something happens during the season, I think you go out there for the most part. If you need that, you go sign somebody.
Dylan Johnson did run a 4.68 40. Yeah. So there is a reason why he's available, right?
Yeah. And he got hurt towards the end of the season last year.
He went the heck off at Washington this year.
Well, he had a great season. He got banged up at the end.
He's just athletically not at that same level. A reminder, too, the exact day Deontay Foreman signed with the Titans in 2021 was November 2nd. And we saw the impact he had. I think you're just as likely to go get the best running back that you could sign off of a practice squad somewhere or that's just on the street.
Yep.
If something happened to one of your top two.
To answer the question, I'm not worried. I do side-eye it. I was like, hey, who's going to emerge is where I'm at.
Coming up next, Tennessee Titans center Lloyd Cushenberry will join us. What it's like playing for Bill Callahan, what he sees in the rookies and young players around him, and J.C. Latham and Peter Skoronski, and the ability to help Will Levis learn a new offense this offseason, his first as well here in Tennessee. Titans center Lloyd Cushenberry joins us next.
7 o'clock. What's going on? Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans on the field for OTAs yesterday. Took a little pit stop to talk to the media after practice. The Titans' newest addition, and Tyler Boyd, was asked what made him feel so comfortable in choosing the Titans, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I knew they was always interested from the beginning, knowing that Callahan came and just having a guy that knows the system, and that can come out here and help guys. That was a favorable team that I would want to be a part of because of him and the system. I know it real well, and everywhere I went was cool and fine. It felt good, but this just felt like home to me.
Speaking of new faces, new Titans center Lloyd Cushenberry joins the show next here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
$7 a.m. in Nashville as we begin hour number 2 of Ramon, Kayla, and Will with our NFL veteran, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling, and we decided to add another interior offensive lineman.
Nothing wrong with that.
Into the mix. Ramon Foster is beaming as we are now pleased to be joined by Tennessee Titans center Lloyd Cushenberry here on the show. Lloyd, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, man. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being here. How have OTAs been for you so far?
It's been going well. I feel like we've been getting a lot of good work in. Coach Bill's been pushing us, and we have a hard-working group, so everything's been going well so far.
I know you said before Bill Callahan is a big reason why you are here. How is he different maybe from other offensive line coaches that you've worked with?
Very, very, very detailed, and the work we put in pre-practice, post-practice is like I've never been a part of something like this. We're out there 15, 20 minutes before, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes after. And it's a nonstop, just getting better every single day. And he's hard on us, so it makes us all better.
And we've heard a lot about Bertha and Olga, the sleds you guys have. What was it like hitting one of those for the first time?
Yeah, it was tough. You got to be perfect on those things. Everyone knows how heavy it is, but once you get the right technique, it moves pretty smoothly. And but if you're not, it's not moving at all. If you get your hips too much involved, it'll go straight up and get stuck in the grass. And then if you don't, get them involved enough, you're not moving it at all. So you got to be almost perfect to get that thing moving.
We're joined by the Titans starting center Lloyd Cushenberry this morning. Lloyd, man, welcome in to the show. I just have to know, man, because offensive line coaches are like elephants. You was coached by a guy that I was coached by. Did Munch ever talk bad about me at least one time?
No, we heard a lot of funny stories about that group you guys had, and we watch y'all on tape a lot. And I learned a lot myself from watching you and Pouncey doing work in the interior. And he enjoyed you guys. He talked about y'all a lot.
Okay, for sure. Just had to make sure, man, because he's slick like that. Most offensive line coaches are. With that being said, though, what has been one of the most important things you've learned from both of those guys, man? Because I don't think many people understand, having good position coaches in the NFL, and we've heard a lot about Bill Callahan. I've never been coached by him, but I understand what Munch is. How has that been for you, man, to learn under those two guys?
Man, Munch was great for me coming in. As a rookie, it was tough for me. It almost felt like I couldn't do anything right, but at the end of the day, it made me much better. Every day it's a constant quest to improve, and no matter what, good or bad, the show goes on. You got to get better. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. So he was tough on us all, just like Coach Callahan. And those are hard-nosed, old school type coaches, and they just make everyone better.
So, you're in a spot right now where you come in as a free agent with a new head coach, new team, but you also have to be in a major leadership role with the two young fellas you have to your left right now, man. What is the process of getting those guys to understand how to be pros, your expectations from them, especially on the side of Peter? He started off as first rounder, and you also have a young rookie at left tackle too. What's your advice and guidance to those guys moving forward?
Well, I think first, I try to just show them, I try to lead by example a little bit, get to know them more, and then as we move forward, we can hold each other accountable. And Peter going to his second year, JC coming in as a rookie. I think it's important for them to know like the work comes first, and just keeping the main thing. Whatever you got going on, outside of this building, once you step in, like it's ball. We all here for one goal. And, that's what it has to be. So coming in with the mindset to work and get better every day and reach the goal and try to get this group to a standard of, high standard that we want to set for the next few years.
When it as it pertains to the offensive line play, one thing I've somewhat said often is whenever you see the best parts of us is usually after year 3. What have you seen as far as your personal growth from that rookie year, second year to where you are right now as it pertains to your knowledge, skill set, and just, like you said, from your rookie year, much kind of leaned into you to where you are now?
Yeah, I came a long way. Coming in, as you know, it's everything's going so fast, and you're trying to find your way in this league, and it's not slowing down for you. And then, after about the third year, I wouldn't say it slows down, but you just get a better knowledge of not only your job, but what's going on around you. And that helps you play faster, which in turn makes the game seems like it's slowing down. And I think that's what happened. Going really my third year, then I got injured, so I couldn't finish that year. But then my fourth year, that's when everything kind of clicked for me, and I had a better knowledge of the entire offense and what was going on around me, which helped me play faster and more physical.
Lloyd Cushenberry, Titans new center here in Nashville, joining us on RKW. So, Lloyd, when it comes to the culture in this room and setting the culture, there's clearly some veteran guys like yourself, Daniel Brunskill, but there are some younger guys, including 2 that are playing on the left side of you with Peter Skoronski and now J.C. Latham here. How important is it for you to be a part of setting that culture, and what do you feel like you guys want your identity to be?
I think it's very important. This is a new role that I'm stepping into as well. Being more of a leader, trying to be more of a vocal guy. But I think our identity, we want to be a tough physical group, and that's every group that Coach Callahan's coach has been that. We want to be hard nosed. We want to be able to play every game with each other, whoever that starting 5 is, and we have a good division of D linemen we're going to have to face. So we got to come with our A game every single week and give our skill guys a chance to make plays. We got a ton of them. We got a lot of playmakers, and we just got to do our job up front. I think we'll be fine.
One of those guys that hopes to, also be able to boast the playmakers around him is Will Levis. How important is it building that relationship with your quarterback, and what has it been like so far?
Very important. I think Will has that personality of a quarterback that you want. He's relatable, can talk to a lot of the guys in the locker room. Always keeping a smile, but then we get on that field, he's locked in and he's in tune with everything's going on. So very important. We got to keep him clean. That's our job. That's part of the reason they wanted to bring me in, and that's what we got to do up front.
Lloyd, I'm going down the roster, right? And I've covered this team for a while now, but this year in particular, you're always going to get Louisiana guys on the roster. But this year in particular, man, you've got some guys in that room from either Louisiana or that just went to LSU. Tell me about just the culture of football and you being surrounded by that since day one, and what makes you guys just different.
Yeah, in football, that's everything down there. It's from the minute we're born, like it's football. So that's all we know, really, and that's how it is throughout the entire state. No matter South Louisiana, North Louisiana, it's football, everything. And that's just how it is. It's kind of similar to Texas and maybe Florida, but I think Louisiana is a lot of people said we're just different. I love the fact that we got a handful of guys who either are from there or went to LSU. So it's great.
They better be getting some Cajun dishes in that kitchen, by the way.
Oh yeah, they actually have. It surprised me a few times. They had some jambalaya, gumbo a few times. So it's been great.
That sounds like the work of Rand Carthon right there. I've never heard it.
Yeah.
I was so close to booing you when you started talking about LSU stuff, Lloyd. Like, you back in SEC country now, man. This is a little bit more serious, and you know that, Lloyd, okay? I was that close to booing that LSU talk there.
I love it.
And we about to run that. We about to run the SEC now since Saban's gone. So
you and Tennessee and Georgia and everybody else thinking
Lloyd,
the same
I was going to ask you about that because I know you were given the number 18 jersey at LSU, which is a really high honor in 2019. Was that something that was a goal for you, and how big of a deal is that for people who are unfamiliar with getting that jersey at LSU?
It's a huge deal. It's like you said, it's a great honor. It's kind of like that, the standard of what LSU football wants to be, that leader. And honestly, it wasn't really a goal because I was the first offensive lineman to be awarded the number. Obviously, I couldn't wear it, so they just gave me a patch. I didn't think it would be a goal for me until I didn't think it would be real until they announced my name. So I didn't think I would get it. So I can't say it was a goal, but it was a great honor to wear it for that year, and it's a special number, special thing that they do at LSU.
Lloyd, everyone really talks about that big jump you made last season. I know you talked about it coming off the injury at the end of 2022. Where did you feel like you improved the most? What was one area in your game that you felt like you take the biggest step last season?
One of the main things going into the last year, I wanted to play with more extension, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I wasn't using my hands enough, and I was on the ground a lot, off balance. And then last year, I really had an emphasis on just playing with the extension, using my length to my advantage. Being at center, I have pretty long arms, so started to play with a little bit more extension. And then also, like I said earlier, just the overall knowledge of not just my job and what my guards have to do, just to being in tune with the formations, the motions, like things that can help me kind of slow things down pre-snap. So once we snap the ball, I can just go and fly around.
Man, having played beside a guy at center, like, if you could, Lord, I think some people look at certain positions like maybe the guard or center as not being important. Why is the center position, and if not the most important position, the second most important position on the offense?
Well, I think it's probably the most important because, you set the tone. Like, you touch the ball every snap. You the guy setting the huddle. You the voice up there. You taking command up front. You kind of running the show. So without that, it can be a sloppy operation. And I try to take pride in just having command when I get up there and being in tune and knowing exactly where we're supposed to be, where we're supposed to go. And that's the main thing at center, man. You got to be in command and run the show. And that's one thing that Munch really taught me a lot. At my first 2 years is no matter you're rookie, your second year, it doesn't matter. You get up there at the line, you run the show. You're the guy. So have confidence and take care of it.
I have one last hard-hitting one for you there, Lloyd. Okay, there's a conspiracy theory. Peter Skronsky yesterday, we were talking to him. He said one of these sleds, either Olga or Bertha, might be a little bit tainted than the other. And you guys have discussed this in practice. What's going on here? I need the conspiracy theory music.
Yeah. So one of those sleds, I think they put logos on the one with the Oilers logo. That's the bad one. It was the bad one. And no matter who went up there, it was just always like you couldn't move it. And apparently they fixed it this week, and we've been moving it a little better. But it was definitely one of those sleds were very messed up.
Mystery solved. Thanks, Lloyd.
See, that's the life of an offensive lineman. They tell you do work, and you tell them it's all wrong, and they still tell you it's right when it's wrong, man. I'm glad y'all got to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Lloyd Cushenberry has been our guest here on the show. Lloyd, man, best of luck with the rest of the offseason. Welcome to Nashville again, and you should have seen the smile on Ramon Foster's face when we told him another interior offensive lineman was joining the show this morning. We appreciate you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks,
No
Lloyd.
doubt.
Yes, sir. Lloyd Cushenberry joins us here this morning here on the show. Great stuff on what it is like to be coached by Bill Callahan specifically that I think we can react to coming up next. 615-737-1045. You can react to whatever Lloyd told us just now. We'll give you our thoughts, and we'll play more audio of what Titans coaches said about the offensive line that was missing a couple of key players yesterday when we come back on 1045 The Zone. Hey, what's up? It's Will Bowling. You've heard me talk about how Lead Company is all you need for your home, but hey, they're also all you need for your facility. That's right. Their expert technicians on the facilities team have you covered not just for HVAC, but for plumbing and electrical as well. From healthcare facilities to industrial and everything in between, Lead Company is available 24/7, 365 to keep your building running efficiently. With 80 years of experience, trusted since 1944, open 24/7, Lead Company has 14 community locations in Tennessee and in Kentucky and Alabama as well. With over 950 vehicles, vans, trucks in their fleet, Lead Company has you covered at a moment's notice, whether you're a homeowner or a facility manager. Give them a call, 615-567-1000, or contact them online at leadcompany.com. That's 615-567-1000. Lead Company, all you need. Wednesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 615-737-1045 on the heels of a great chat with Titans center Lloyd Cushenberry. Appreciate him giving us some time early this morning. 615-737-1045 if you want to react to that. What stood out from what Lloyd told us?
What stood out is how Coach Callahan is in practice. Like, you meet him. I met him off the field, and he's super quiet, jovial, just like to have a good time. He's laughing with a smile on his face, but clearly he wreaks havoc during practice for the big boys, man, which is I think is a necessary part of it. When you won, he said it, trying to establish a culture of winning. That was super important right there. And those types of coaches that are hard like that in practice usually just roll the ball out on game day and just, hey, go be a pro. So if it's hard in practice, it's probably going to be easy in the games to where you know how to operate. You know what the expectations are because coaches told you. He's fussed at you about it. He's taught you these things. And it was that, and also his help with Will Levis, I think is pretty unique on how he said being a center is one of those positions where you got to know probably just as much as a quarterback. You have to be on your game. You set the line of scrimmage. Your voice out there. And that's something I know that the tackles get all the love. And, yes, I'm a little biased on this one because I'm an interior guy or was an interior guy. Having the center be a stud for you, having the center to be a guy that commands respect, demands respect from his teammates, and they give it back, I think having a guy like him is so important to Will Levis, the running backs, and just everybody else as far as the offensive line goes, too, knowing that you got a steady voice that knows what the heck he's doing. Another Ben Jones type.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, the true definition of a pro, right? And a guy that what stood out to me just when we first learned he was coming here and we did some research on him is for him to want to continue to better himself every year in a way where he's putting him in a position here in Tennessee where he worked under Mike Munchak, like you had mentioned, where you know what type of line coach he is. He is hard. Is he going to make you better? Yes, if you allow him to, if you take the criticism, if you take the teaching. But not only did he want one dose of that, he wanted to come to the Titans and get another dose of a different type of line coach that is considered one of the best in the NFL, who he knew was going to be a hard you-know-what, and was going to be just as detailed, if not more, than Mike. And here he is now wanting to get even better, and he knows the position he is in. He said it firsthand. We know there's a lot of work to be done. But to take that upon himself because he feels like he can be a better center than he already is, I'm like, that is a true pro right there. I just think like as many of the guys that we talk about that have been additions to this team this year, it's easier to talk about the sexier positions, right? The ones that, you know, are the skill, the flash. But this might be one of the most solid adds that the Titans have added in a while in terms of a free agent. Because I just think he can make that much of a difference where it all starts, which is up front.
I was also impressed while I'm bringing up his flaws. Was it you, Will, to ask about, what did you get better at? Like, guys have hard times talking about their flaws. His was bent on the ground a little bit too much. And that's something that you take one thing at a time when you're trying to get better. And he said that's something that he wanted to work on. It's like, man, I got long arms.
Taking advantage of
my
it.
length. I thought that was a great question right there, Will.
And he's thank you. He's credited Zach Strief, the current Broncos offensive line coach, as being the guy that has really helped him take that next step. A recently retired offensive lineman who was a couple years in New Orleans as an assistant and was at his first season in Denver last year. And it was the first-year offensive line coach that really helped him take that step forward. He talked about the extension he was playing with, his hands and his arms being the biggest difference between his second season where he missed the last couple games and could have come back with that groin injury in 2022. He was one of those players the Broncos didn't rush back, considering how far gone the season was at that point. But this was Lloyd Cushenberry with us just a few minutes ago talking about the impact of Bill Callahan and what makes him different from any of the other offensive line coaches he's worked with.
Very, very, very detailed. And the work we put in pre-practice, post-practice is like I've never been a part of something like this. We're out there 15, 20 minutes before, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes after. Like, and it's a nonstop like just getting better every single day, and he's hard on us, so it makes us all better.
What do you think they're working on, Ramon? 15 minutes before practice, 15 minutes after practice. What are the kinds of things that Bill Callahan would be teaching them in those moments specifically?
That's where he can really get to teaching in a slow, methodical way right there. Like whether it be assignment, that's what do we have on this play? Because the thing about practice is it's the pre-practice. We need to have a perfect practice as we possibly can because we don't get many reps. We're splitting reps right now because it's not the season. 1, 2s, and 3s got to go. So that's where you get that. Who do you have here? Why do you have this guy? What will it look like when it's live action? We're good? Okay, fine. And then from there, a small technique stuff, stepping over the line of scrimmage, hand usage. And this is where I'm pretty sure guys like Coach Bill Callahan probably make the guys go one-on-one. So that's one thing about offensive line coaches. As much as they possibly can engage you against one of your teammates, you will. Whether that be hand usage on your punch, whether that be working side to side and drill work as far as footwork goes, those are the types of things that happen whenever you have the ability to slow it down before practice. I would say, and after practice too, is, all right, what did we mess up on? Because, again, they only have so many hours in the building anyway as it pertains to, all right, we got to get these guys out. They still have a life. And coaches have their schedules too. So afterwards, as much as you can get on the field in their element, meaning some guys don't do well with the big board inside the meeting room. Now we keep it purely football. What do we need to correct? How will we go about it? And what's our expectation? And again, it's the other side of it too. How much can we be around each other? Because they got to expedite this process as far as trying to gel, trying to understand who's going to play where and the whys, you know? And that's where I've always seen my coaches who were very detailed, and he mentioned that in that comment right there, the amount of detail that Coach Bill Callahan has, again, is to equip them so that when training camp comes around, don't ask me no questions. Yeah, right. We can correct stuff, but you should know this because we went to the classroom and we've taken it to the practice field. That's what I love about good coaches is it's more teaching than almost anything else. And we can correct the mistakes after the fact because if you look at some of the practice tape, they have cameras on every single player going through every single rep. So everything I need to see, you can see that. I just need you to do it the way I told you to or try to. And from there, we can get better. I loved it. And I'll be the same. I was the exact same way with Munch. I hated him in the beginning. It's because, again, it's so much, so quick all the time, and it's never any downtime. But when you get the opportunity to show why he's so detailed, show why you work so hard in practice, the payoff is amazing. I'm hoping this group gets an opportunity in year one to show what it looks like to be properly trained up like this.
Yeah, that's the overall theme when you first ask any of these offensive linemen, and we've yet to talk to, obviously, all of them, but talking to Peter Skoronski yesterday, just in terms of the first thing he brings up is detail. That's the first thing he brings up with technique. And you could see it on the look on his face, too, because remember, he was here last year under a total different regime, and they did things totally different. And, you know, when you hear him talk about the detail and just the toughness that Bill Callahan is bringing to that room, and I've only been out there a couple times for practice so far, but just the amount of things they work on with the actual sleds, and it's them getting their actual hands on these things that are going to be tough. Like you heard him talk about the sleds. Like it's hard to move those things. There's so much more work being done. And again, I'm not trying to compare staffs, but it's just different. Yeah. Visually, what I've seen, it is different. Teaching. It's a lot of teaching.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to take that teaching if you're going to succeed in Bill Callahan's system. And that's what's going to be interesting for a guy like Nicholas Petit-Frere. And he might be in the film room right now, but, you know, yesterday, not on the field, he's rehabbing. So that's one of those things. I feel like these little things, it does hurt you if you're not on the field when you're trying to learn this stuff ahead of training camp so that you are ready to go.
And what it also does, too, is it sets you up. Remember last year, the big conversation around, you remember when Bronsko got put on his butt? You remember that? It was like, oh, Lord, it's going to be
day one of training camp.
Yeah.
Day one of training camp. When you have a coach that gets you just hyped up and set a tone at the beginning of the practice, you don't find yourself slacking in those type of moments right there. We used to call it much. I think our individual was 25 minutes. 25 minutes of hell. That's what it used to be, just 25 minutes of hell of just nonstop back-to-back work. But by the time we got to team drills, we were either so mad or so prepared that we had to go hard. So those are the things I'm telling you. You should be able to see your work come through in a very positive light, because again, you can hear it in Lloyd Cushenberry's voice when he speaks about Bill Callahan. Like, it's rough on them right now.
Speaking of Nicholas Petit-Frere, this was Bryan Callahan yesterday after practice, specifically on a question Kayla asked him about the Titans tackle.
Yeah, he's been great. Really been pleased with his progress. He's one of those rehab guys currently, but everything he's done up to this point has been really good. I'm excited about the potential there for him. And, anytime that these guys get the pads on in training camp is when we really find a separator for who ends up taking a tackle spot. But I've been pleased with where he's at.
Is that from the injury last year? He's still rehabbing? Can you say anything on that?
No, I'll just let that one be. Yeah.
He'll let that one be. On an injury. Did not specify whether this was something that happened last season. Of course, dealt with injury that sidelined him for the season, didn't play a lot, or if this was something new. How big of a deal is it that he's not out there right now?
If it's from last year's injury, not that
Which
big
was
of
a shoulder,
deal.
by the way.
Yeah, the shoulder, and I think his pec or something got torn off the bone or something. Either way, I'm speculating. I don't know what happened. I just know he had a surgery after that. It can be a big deal because of these reps right now. He gets to training camp. If he's not fully rehabbed before the end of OTAs, like, it's going to be a shocker for him. He could get behind the 8-ball because he's still going to be learning Coach Bill Callahan's processing and the expectations of being a practice, like being out there for practice. That's the only thing I think that can get him. But again, here's the other side of playing the offensive line position. A lot of what you do doesn't necessarily count until you put the pads on. So he has grace there. If he comes out and set the world on fire and start smacking folks all across the field, and he's set the tone that, hey, I'm here and I want to push Big Bertha and Olga around, then it's all good. But what he don't want is that first 2 days of him just being like a chicken with his head cut off, not understanding, hey, this is a 380-pound machine. Hey, I have to roll my hips. This is where he can at least set a foundation. It could be somewhat problematic, Will. What he has to do, and I'm not sure if it's his game in totality, what he has to do is come out there, if he misses all of OTAs, and pick the biggest dude on the yard and just me and you. That's how he can correct this time missed right here. And times where I was out for practice or missed a game or two, you got to overdo it in a sense to show that, yeah, I'm still somewhat him. So, yeah, it can be problematic if he misses all of OTAs, Will. It can be. I'll be honest about that.
And I was a little surprised, but then I did think about, okay, if this is still rehabbing the shoulder, and I get the shoulder and some of the stuff they're doing out there in terms of, these sleds, I could see the full recovery is important, right?
Yep.
And they're making sure he's 100% healthy, ready to go. But you are losing that valuable time on the field when it comes to competing for the position in terms of a starter at right tackle. That's what I look at, because there are plenty of guys out here who are hungry and ready to win this starting job at right tackle. Yeah. And to me, missed time on the field and, those details that you can only teach on the field sometimes, there is the meeting room, but there is nothing like that kind of experience when you're out there and with a new coach.
But I will say, to that same point, though, there are OTA All-Americans. And if you know the NFL, there are no All-Americans out there. It's either All-Pro or Pro Bowlers, okay? So I know what you're saying. He's missing the technique. He's missing the time to show, hey, I am just as good of an athlete. When the pads come on, that's when, like I said, that's when it's going to matter more for him to go be and show that he can learn and pick up technique. You know how many OTA All-Americans I've run into? I hated those dudes. Just like, dude, you're not going to make the team right now. Like, stop. Like, slow down. All right. Oh, you got a sack. And guess who's counting the sack? Nobody's counting the sack right now. Okay. Show me that in camp. So I'm not wet blanketing what you said, but you're right. Him learning the technique, him being able to be a guy to show I am athletic enough. I can move. I can learn. It's a new offense for him too. So you don't want him double and triple learning whenever they put pads on.
It's about a 3 out of 10 for me. I think it's something that is on the radar, him not being out there. As long as Nicholas Petit-Frere is available when training camp begins, I think you're in decent shape at that point. Because pads also won't be on the day that training camp begins either. And you'll have a bit of a ramp-up period there. So there may be a benefit to watching the way these guys are being trained and practicing and having a set of expectations the first time you are there in a full capacity of knowing what to expect. I don't think it is a massive deal, but it's also not the best thing for a guy that, unfortunately, it is what it is, took himself off the field because he didn't follow the gambling rules correctly and needs every rep that he can get. So, again, it's about a 3 out of 10 for me.
Right, I feel that. He just got to punch somebody first day out there.
615-737-1045 between the whistles, though. Between the echoes of the whistles. How about that?
I'm going to be real. I need a little bit
between the echoes of I said echo of the whistle.
Echoes. You said the echoes.
Echo of the whistle. Coming up, what Bryan Callahan said about Caleb Farley, who was out there yesterday. Interesting. We'll get into that next. Wrapping up the first half of the show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW brewed up by 8th and Roast and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV. Yesterday at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, Bryan Callahan complimented trainers for their work with corner Caleb Farley, who was back out on the practice field yesterday. Here's the head coach on the former first-round pick.
Our training staff's done a great job with between Todd and Matt, knowing when to push them, knowing when to back them off. I mean, that's a pretty significant amount of injuries that he's had that he's trying to come back from, and he's done a really nice job. He communicates really well with how he feels. We listen to him and what his body tells him, and then when our trainers push him, they push him to go. And I think he's done a nice job, and it's hard to overcome a lot of the things that he's had to overcome. So, I'm proud of the fact that he keeps working at it. I mean, what might have shut a lot of guys down, and the fact that he keeps coming out, keeps trying to play, keeps rehabbing is really impressive. So we manage it the best we can with a lot of input from the performance side and the training room, and hopefully get him to a place where he can help us.
What do you expect or hope to get out of Caleb Farley in training camp and moving forward?
I want to say this in a way that I'm not trying to say there's no opportunity or no chance. However, I also want to say this being realistic about the situation. And we have watched Caleb Farley and the unfortunate situations he's had to deal with here, which none are his fault, right? I mean, getting drafted in the first round, knowing there were back injuries, that's not his fault that he was a first-round pick. If anything, he came in here and wanted to be able to do things from the get-go. But unfortunately, the injuries that happened again to the back specifically, which is not something you mess with. And It does affect your overall body of work and how you continue to try to be a guy that can contribute moving forward. It is what it is sometimes. Then the tragedy with his father and overcoming that and being in that facility and just being around the team because he knew that was going to keep him fighting. Man, I've got so much respect for Caleb Farley. Can I first of all just say that? The type of man he is. And Callahan is right. He continues to put himself out there to be available to try to fight for a spot. His fifth-year option, according to Jeremy Fowler, was not taken, right?
Yeah, it wasn't picked up.
But he's out here right now. And that's the best thing that we can, at least say, hey, he's out here. He's at practice. Is he doing crazy things right now? Is he, in pads? Is he in a game getting hit? No. But he, I believe, is taking steps to try to, in this at least last season here that he knows of, be the best he can be, whether that be a practice guy, whether that be a guy that eventually can get out there and play. I just personally think there's a lot of stuff still going on with the back that they have to be careful with, that I don't know if he can be a contributor for this team just because his body possibly won't let him be there.
That's what we got to see. My expectations from him, if he makes this squad, is to be one heck of a special teams champ. Unless he develops enough and plays well enough to where you can trust him to be out there. Again, the talent is there. However, John Robinson and his staff and scouts decided to take that chance on a guy who had issues like that, he was tabbed as a first round corner, right? Yeah. And whether that be it was too much of a reach or not, I think if you look at his situation and how it's somewhat played out, it ain't all his fault. Like, we're talking about Caleb Farley because John Robinson and his staff and Mike Vrabel them wanted to draft him. I think there could have been other positions where you would have taken a guy in hindsight that wasn't injured, that had an opportunity to play right now during that COVID season and stuff like that, to where this just put a black eye on his career from the beginning, I think. If he makes his squad, I just need 17 games. 17 active games. Whether he plays special teams or whether he actually get in on defense, just give me 17 weeks of health is all I'm looking for, Will.
Contractually, you do not save any money by cutting him. So on the fourth year of a rookie deal, and of course the fifth-year option was the easiest decision to make on a fifth-year option ever because the guy hasn't been available, which again, some of that is certainly out of his control. Your dead cap number releasing him would be $4.2 million after June 1st. The only way you could save money by moving Caleb Farley would be by trading him after June the 1st, or actually even before June the 1st. And in that way, you would save $2.5 billion, but you're not going to find anybody that's willing to take that full number. You would have to pay the amount that they would be taking on, or at least some of it. So from a money standpoint, just looking at the facts, there is no financial incentive of moving on from Caleb Farley. The guy's just got to make the team at this point. I think that is his goal.
Yeah.
Make this roster, obviously.
And good for him.
We'll
right?
see.
What do you need from him, Will, this year?
The health.
Just be on the practice field every day in camp. And preseason games.
And I talked to him last year in the locker room when we talked to him for the first time. The biggest thing that stood out to me, and he was very, very clear about it and transparent, was that pinched nerve in the back and how it kind of, the back works in mysterious ways. And that was something he was still continuing to work through. I'll be interested to talk to him this year sometime in the next, month or two and see if anything with that has progressed, because he is on the field now. And that, like I said, guys, that's a really good step forward for him.
You watch him too on the practice field, and the guy's always chomped at the bit.
Sure.
To get opportunities. You can tell his mind is just swimming watching practice. I really like the guy a lot. I know we all do. The human being is an awesome, awesome guy, and I really want there to be a success story there, and in a lot of ways, a miraculous success story on what he can be. But I totally agree. I think if he can be a special teams ace for you and be available to fill in a pinch at an outside cornerback position, with respect to guys like Trey Avery and undrafted guys that have been journeymen in this league, I would rather him be that guy who's the fourth or fifth corner off the bench versus someone who has been on 5 rosters in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Because the talent in him, he was a first-round pick for a reason. So it is certainly a guy with a lot of talent and a physical skill set when available and when healthy that you're not going to find just on the street anywhere else.
Facts.
615-737-1045 is our number. Coming up, the second half of the show. Bryan Callahan spoke a lot about his offense yesterday, had good things to say about Will Levis, about his wide receivers, and we'll play you that audio next.
It's Ramon Foster here for Secure Lawn, telling you, man, they want to provide a prime service to their customers. And here's the thing about them. They tell you exactly what they do up front. If you need your trees trimmed, the shrubs planted, you got to call somebody else for that, okay? Because Secure Lawn doesn't do all that. But if you want your grass looking like something out of a magazine, if you need lawn fertilizer, weed control, you got to call Secure Lawn. They've been building up a solid reputation here in Middle Tennessee for over 20 years now, offering neighborly advice and legendary service. They're family owned and operated and local. And one thing they told me to tell you guys is this: you don't have to worry about them selling to other companies that are big franchises. No. And then they change the price on you. Then the service quality changed. No. Your same text will come by. You will get the same quality service, the prime service that they offer to every single one of their customers. Everything also that Secure Lawn uses is pet, kid, and environmentally friendly. So you don't have to worry about dangerous chemicals hurting your family or your pet family, okay? So if you need anything done around your house, servicing all types of grass, from residential, commercial, and even athletic fields, get Secure Lawn over 615-893-8455 or go to securelawn.com.
What's going on? 8 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans are on the field for OTAs yesterday. Took a little pit stop after practice to talk to the media. The Titans' newest addition, wide receiver Tyler Boyd, was asked what makes him feel comfortable in choosing the Titans and the free agency, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I knew they was always interested from the beginning, knowing that Callahan came and just having a guy that knows the system, and that can come out here and help guys. That was a favorable team that I would want to be a part of because of him and the system. I know it real well, and everywhere I went was cool and fine. It felt good, but this just felt like home to me.
Quite a few playmakers sitting out of OTAs. Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons not present at OTAs. 49ers facing a similar issue. Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk also nowhere to be found for organized team activity in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan isn't worried, though, citing the 2022 offseason when Debo took a similar approach to getting paid, and he ended up staying a 49er. And game one yesterday of the Eastern Conference Finals as the Pacers choke up 3 with 11 seconds to go. Jaylen Brown hits a huge 3 to send it to overtime. Celtics take it 133-128. Game 2 is still in Boston. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show starts right now. Hour number 3 of Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed up by 8th and Rose. 615-737-1045. How you put your voice into the mix with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson. Robert Walsh making the show happen. I am Will Bowling. Coming up, hear from Bryan Callahan, from Tyler Boyd, from DeAndre Hopkins. Lots of discussion as Titans wide receivers were under the microscope yesterday at organized team activities. You can hear our full conversation as well with center Lloyd Cushenberry right now on your favorite podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, or 1045thezone.com. The show streams live on your smart devices. Your devices are certainly smarter than us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Please. Beat him. I know I beat him.
You're not even saying the word anymore. You're not even saying the word.
On your mark to set.
Do you hear yourself?
Is it Blue 80 Blue? Say Hut. Do you gonna set? No, you gonna set, and then Hut is when you actually you're already hit somebody.
737-1045.
You have one center on the show, and now Ramon wants to talk about being about Blue 40, whatever the hell a Blue 40 is.
The way to go. Bert, you got to anticipate the snap count. That's what I'm doing today. The one time that he gets beat, okay, now he wants a recount. Way to go, Bert.
No recount. No
Way
recount.
to go.
You can win that one.
Have you been to room 40?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Room for D. Okay. Room for D's pieces of audio that we're going to listen to from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park.
He's Mr. Peanuts.
I was about to ask you, what is room? Never
Room
mind.
for D's answers from Bryan Callahan when asked about Will Levis and Titans wide receivers yesterday at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We are Capitalized J journalists, and we give you that audio on Callahan talking about Levis.
Will's done a really nice job, and I think that having the veteran guys, if you watch, I watched Calvin and I watched Tyler today even, just their natural inclinations to go up and talk about something, go talk about a route, go talk about an adjustment, where that doesn't fall on Will to have to do to the receivers. They sort of help with their experience with him, sharing perspective, sharing a thought process on any number of things that involves the pass pattern, the route technique. Those guys have a great feel and understand football as good as anybody. And so it falls less on Will to make corrections as it is to those guys having conversations, which I think is a huge benefit for a young quarterback to have those guys.
Did you guys hear what else happened yesterday on the practice field?
Tell us.
Bryan Callahan actually evaluated this radio show. This was Bryan on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
Will's done a really nice job.
Yeah, thanks, Bryan. I really appreciate
That's
that.
great.
The head coach.
Thanks, Callie.
He on fire right now. Well, did you just wake up? You went outside to get some sun.
5:30.
You went outside to get
5:15.
You got some sun, and now you are energized right
I've been
now.
energized all morning. I have made a switch
man.
in the last 2 weeks to black coffee.
Yeah.
See, Nick at
Because-
Westbrook Akine.
No, you said he was old coffee.
No, I said he was up. Just pour it in. You don't need anything extra.
You said
Don't twist my words,
he was
bro.
freeze-dried coffee is what you called him. Back burner coffee.
Sorry, Will. Sorry. Anyways.
What have you switched
went
up,
to
Will?
just straight up.
I've gone away from my first cup of coffee being the flavored one. I've gone to black coffee being the first cup, which kickstarts you just a little bit more. But anyway, thank you, Bryan, for saying I've done a nice job. I really appreciate that.
Take him away.
There are perks to having the same name as the quarterback.
Yeah, now how do we get him to say Ramon and Kayla?
I don't know.
What is wrong with y'all?
Good luck with that.
No, I can't even find my name on the
I know,
keychain
you
nowhere.
can't even find your way to the
You can
facility.
find Kayla. You can't even find that. Yeah, I can't even find the facility at this point, man.
Bryan Callahan just always talking about a guy named Will in their mid-20s who lives in Nashville. Is it me or is it Levis? Who's to say?
I watched Calvin and I watched.
Damn it, the audio didn't reset. Come on now.
That's what you, yep.
Come on.
That's what we needed right there, baby. False start. 5 yards against the offense, Bert. There you go. Now, take that.
I wish I was big like you. I wish I was as big as you.
You abuse your power.
I wish
There's
I was
something
as
for
big
that
as
you
you.
can take.
Use your power, man. I know you would. I've seen you in action.
In the olden days, you would have been considered a royalty by your people.
We need to bring
Dwight
that
Schrute
back.
talking to Kevin Malone.
We need to bring that back.
goodness.
Back in the old days, medieval ages, you eating haunches of meat, and if you were a thick boy, you were a king. You're a king. What happened to that now? Now we want Pete Davidson looking fellas.
We do, man. That's just wild.
that's too
Wild
skinny,
style
man.
out here, man.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes has a little bit of a gut too now.
It's Dwight Schrute going, Kevin, in sumo culture, you'd be considered a promising up-and-comer. Bert, in sumo culture, you'd be considered a promising up-and-comer.
Dude, they've got it good, too. They get to eat all day.
But they stuffed themselves, though. Have you seen them eat? Like
All right,
they hover
there it
over the
is.
bowl.
And we're back.
Oh, well,
like a
I'm
dog.
just saying, as sports, this is what we're talking about here.
Is it? Is it?
Is it?
If you're watching it on the Ocho in the middle of July, it ain't sports. There was competitive Excel on ESPN2 over the weekend, so I guess we could talk about that too.
Yeah, cornhole is back.
Yeah,
I
whatever.
know, man.
Bryan Callahan,
so
though, on Will Levis and the wide receivers after he complimented me. It sounds like there is a lot of teaching, a lot of talking going on between drills, between reps, between periods, specifically among those wide receivers. Right? I'm not teeing up anything. I'm talking to you guys.
We're hour 3 and we're on our way.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes,
One of these
Will.
days we'll figure out how to do
Yes,
this.
Who
Will.
are we right now? Kayla, what you got?
At least Bryan thinks I'm doing a good job.
Goodness gracious.
He
And
listens to me.
I love how Ramon and I just were like, yes. And that's something I brought up about my observations, right away from seeing the things that were happening on the field, specifically kind of talking in between drills or after a throw with these wide receivers in their groups. And then, with Will Levis. And that's the thing that's a bonus for him going into this second season is he's built some chemistry with a couple of these guys, but now he's got 2 more veterans that have entered the building, and he has kind of a way now to learn from them. I know the quarterback, we've had this argument, makes the wide receivers better, but this is the beginning of him building relationships and kind of learning from veterans what they like, how they like to do things in terms of their routes and where they want to be. And so I think it's important for them to be able to feel comfortable to come to him too, like Callie said, and say, hey, this is how we've done it with certain guys in the past, and this is what has been successful. Maybe you try things like this. It's kind of talking it out early on and seeing what fits and what doesn't.
Yeah. the over-communication is necessary. There's so much newness to this offense. You got, 2 new offensive linemen as far as just people who weren't in the building last year, and Lloyd Cushenberry, and, of course, your left tackle. Then you look at the wide receivers. D-Hop, he's still where he's working through a new offense. You add in Tyler Boyd, you add in Calvin, and then you also add the idea, again, of a new offense. They have to over-communicate. It's necessary for them to get on the same page, man. Again, I say this all the time as it pertains to, like, football and how you operate and run plays. Who cares if they know what you're doing? They still have to stop it. What sucks is if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not going up to your quarterback and saying, hey, instead of throwing it to me when I'm coming out of my route, give me 2 steps out of it. It's as simple as those type of communication skills that you have to be able that you need to be able to relay to the guy that's feeding you the ball. And I think, of course, everybody know what Will Levis is too as a quarterback. He's still young. You hear them say that. The assistance of those guys to help him speed up his maturation or his maturity is something that's going to be necessary for the success of this team. I know I always, talk about the O-line and just how important they are, but there's a reason why we're seeing a position get over $50 million a year now. That's because it's important for them to be able to deliver, command this offense, throw the passes the way you need them to, and it starts with communication, starts in practice. I feel like as of late, haven't heard this much. And maybe it's just because it's just in the present. Right now, we're working in the present. We hadn't heard them talk about this much communication. I don't know if it was a Ryan Tannehill thing or the offense was just the same or, well, hell, I guess we're just going to rely on the run. When you're this, diverse now with the way you have the ability to run this offense, communication is key because, again, if you're not on the same page, those 15-yard comebacks or 10-yard comebacks going to end up turning into interceptions if they can't look at coverage and stuff like that.
And I remember specifically in 2019 when Ryan Tannehill took over for Marcus Mariota, that was one of the big talking points, was that Tannehill was going to his receivers' locker rooms before games and specifically by taking the job mid-season was asking them, what do you want? This is what I see. This is what I want. I think those things have been happening.
Yeah.
I think we now have a coaching staff in Nashville that is much more willing to be transparent and honest about everything that is going on. And we're not going to get as much, got to play better, got to coach better.
Yeah.
After wins or losses. So then we as media and as fans become more likely to give that staff the benefit of the doubt because they are more willing to give us intricate details of the way they are working.
Another thing I noticed that I liked yesterday, and I know this is a really small detail, but things that I think are important when you have these veteran wide receivers, if I can speak this morning, that have a lot of stats to say, hey, this is what I've done, and maybe have a little bit of an ego, which I don't see out of these groups of wide receivers because they were the first to admit yesterday, D-Hop and Tyler Boyd, like, hey, I missed a couple. Right? I made a couple mistakes. And this is all a part of being with the new group, with the new coach. But I kind of liked that. Mm-hmm. I was like, that was information they gave us. We didn't ask about that. Awesome. So
there was an interesting quote yesterday from DeAndre Hopkins on 2 different fronts. One of them was about Treylon Burks that you've likely already seen circulating on social media. We'll react to that next. And one on the competitiveness in the wide receiver room that I thought was interesting. How is this Titans offense progressing and how is it different? We'll hear from Tyler Boyd and DeAndre Hopkins next.
Hey, we got Labor Day weekend coming up, so maybe before you hit the road or if you're going to the beach, make sure that you're getting everything done around the house. So open those windows if they aren't opening properly, if they're leaking, anything like that. You probably need to think about getting new windows from our friends at Window Nation. It is their semi-annual sale, so why not take advantage of it? 50% off all window styles plus 0 interest for 5 years and an additional bonus if you actually schedule an appointment this week.
No doubt, Kayla. And trust is what you have to live with when you get Window Nation windows. That's all they do is windows, and they're experts at it. They've installed over 200,000 windows last year. That's 40 times more than the average window company, with 96% of them require no follow-up service. Again, you get trust. If they have had to come to your house, well, guess what? I promise you they will correct it. They have over 20,000 online positive reviews. And another thing, too, is they have over 1,500 custom vinyl window combinations available. So you're not pigeonholed into making one or two decisions. No, you got 1,500 of them. All right, as Kayla just told you, semi-annual sale going on right now. Call them at 866-90Nation. Go online at windownation.com.
A lot of talk about wide receivers yesterday at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans OTAs were open to the media. Only time they're open to the media this week. We'll be back out there next week with plenty to tell you about. It's RKW, brewed up by 8th and Rose, 615-737-1045. We had a lot of Twitter thirst traps, as Buck Rising calls them, of routes on air. Nothing gets the blood pumping like watching routes on air.
Man.
And for those unfamiliar, that is when quarterbacks are just playing pitch and catch with wide receivers against no defense.
It's a thing.
It absolutely is a thing. Covering college practices, you see a lot more dropped footballs and routes on air than you do at NFL practices. I thought this was an interesting quote from DeAndre Hopkins, the unquestioned leader of the Titans wide receiver room, who has a unique personality. It's not a bad thing. He has a unique personality. He showcases that when he speaks to the media. And he talked about competing and being the number one wide receiver of this team that now includes a couple of more veteran wide receivers, namely Calvin Ridley, who will push him for that role. This was Hopkins at the podium yesterday.
I'm always competing. Anytime we get anyone who's the number one receiver, my mindset is to go out and, out-compete them, outdo them. I've always had that mindset. Kobe Bryan being my favorite athlete of all time. Anytime I get a chance to compete against anyone, I'm trying to out-compete them. I'm trying to outdo them, and it's only going to make the team better.
The Titans have that kind of mentality now in their top two receivers, at least, in terms of the competition level, the expectation of being number one. What do you think when you hear DeAndre Hopkins say that? Are you happy about that being the level of competition within that wide receiver room?
It could go one or two ways, and it depends upon how Calvin Ridley receives it. One, I think Calvin Ridley looks up to him, so I don't think there'll be any malice, anything behind him, and you either continue to get better or you're getting worse. I think that's the biggest concept behind what D-Hop is saying. It's like, if there's somebody there and I'm trying to step on my game, let me outwork this guy. And then if he's right-minded, then we both get better, and we'll let it shake out however it needs to. What you need from this squad is to understand this to me. You're dealing with what it seems to be a different style of ball that's going to be played here. How many times have those words actually been spoken here in Nashville in in current Titans fashion as far as the offense goes? I ain't necessarily heard a wide receiver say those types of things out loud, but I know they do it. I know the fact that our team somewhat imploded was because AB probably felt like Juju was on his heels, or vice versa. Like, he needs me more than I need him. And that's what you get when you're dealing with wide receivers. Again, their success is dependent upon how often they can get the balls thrown to them and how good they are as breaking routes, how good they are as far as showing everybody else, if you need a play to be made, I am your guy. I love it from D-Hop. I just hope the guys behind him and around him can receive that as just such. Look, we're all in competition for one main goal, and that's to help this team win. But I've seen some people take that type of stuff the wrong way. Oh, you trying to outshine me? And I doubt they'll have that type of situation come up. But it's refreshing to see him say, I'm not just settled into a role. I think when you look at mediocre teams, you find people that just, okay, I'm okay with just doing my job and going home. No, I think, what I'll say is D-Hop has put everybody on notice. If you want the ball around here, you better show it in practice and you better deliver in the games. If not, I'm still here, and screw whatever my age is. I'm here to cook and stack my numbers and try to help this team win big and win championships. I love it. Just be right-minded to the guys that are around them.
And what I take from that, too, just piggybacking off of what you were saying, Ramon, he has been here. Like, that is one guy in terms of this trio of veterans on this team. And I'm talking about D-Hop, Calvin Ridley now, and Tyler Boyd. And these are guys that have played a lot of football up to this point. And it's almost very unique to have really three, not alpha guys, but in a way, in their positions, they have that title because everywhere they've been, I know Tyler Boyd was the third guy, but he's proven that he's that consistent playmaker at that position in the slot. Calvin Ridley, I know he's gone through some ups and downs, but in Atlanta, he had established that, right? That he was that guy. And then in D-Hop, I mean, his resume speaks for itself. But D-Hop has been here, and guess what he has that the two others don't? he does have that previous work with Will Levis. He has a really good working relationship with Will Levis at that. He brought it up again when Will Levis called him out last year. I think that's the minute he gained respect for Will Levis as a quarterback and was able to continue to kind of build on that. But now you add two guys to the mix that can help this team. When it's all said and done, they want to win. And D-Hop is going to do everything he can to still establish that he's that guy. I think it's healthy competition. I think it's pro competition. I think it's a very unique type of competition within that wide receiver room. But also knowing, guys, we also have a young quarterback that we have to try to make better as well.
DeAndre Hopkins also made waves on social media yesterday based on his reaction to a question about Treylon Burks. So the original tweet from Terry McCormick said, DeAndre Hopkins asked if people are sleeping on Treylon Burks, and then gives this quote that DeAndre said at the podium yesterday that then sparked an ensuing social media reaction. This was DeAndre Hopkins answering that question.
No, I don't need to talk to Treylon about anything. Treylon's a grown man, you know. He gets it.
Are we sleeping on him a bit? Are we sleeping on him a bit? Outsiders looking at that group and the additions?
Trying to figure out how to answer that without like a negative sound bite. Are we sleeping on Treylon? Nein means no in German.
So then the ensuing tweet from DeAndre, who quote tweets that post from Terry McCormick, and yesterday further emphasizes that statement. Quote, the media is the only one sleeping on Treylon Burks. No one in the locker room doubted him or slept on him. We are not people. I can't speak for people. So nein, again, no in German. He's never been slept on to us. Thank you. Come again. Laughing emoji. End quote. What do you make of that?
DeAndre Hopkins is a smart guy. Let me just tell you that much. Like, he is unique. He is very particular in how he answers questions because he doesn't want it making a scene outside of that facility, but especially with this particular situation. You don't think D-Hop doesn't hear what's going on with the criticism of Treylon Burks, and rightfully so, some of it is warranted? Or, hey, is this his last year? I mean, D-Hop hears all of that. But to start off the year in OTAs at that, when they're all together for the first time, he was very particular in how he answered that with a simple no in German, because he said it firsthand. He doesn't want it to come off negative in how he's saying it. And, you know, media spins things. Things make its way down the line in a game of telephone in the media. And he didn't want it to be that way. So he simply said no. And then after the fact, added some stuff on X about it. But I thought it was actually smart by him.
I love it. I'm going to be honest with you. I know it doesn't help people do their job easier as far as the media goes by trying to give an answer to, you know, a question that they ask you. I love it. It deads everything. I think it lets you know where he stands inside that building with Treylon. Again, we heard earlier in the offseason they were working together. I think they worked together last year. And he's right. Whatever he says, it can be skewed a million different ways. And maybe it made it worse to some by him not giving a direct answer. And he was right to go tweet about it, too, to let you know we don't have an issue with him. He understands exactly what he's got going on. I think his first sentence out of that statement is Treylon's a grown man. He knows what he's up against. There's been times I know on guys that have been in a situation where they feel like they're on the outside looking in, and all I can do is just go to work. That's the answers that you get in the NFL. And that's where, where I always bring up, I guess, the pro concept to college. Like, when we're talking about contracts and being in teams, like, at the end of the day, if you don't do your job, you get cut. Treylon understands that. He understands he hasn't accumulated over 1,000 yards, I don't think, in totality in his career in 2 years. That's why I received
665
in 2 years. Yep. That's low.
22 games.
And one tutty.
That's low. I'm looking at the 2022 season in which he came in. You had a 30-year-old Robert Woods surpass him in yards of 527. He only had 444 yards. Like, we're talking about a guy that needs to perform. So I think D-Hop is 100% correct in how he answered that question right there. Because, again, if he says, man, Treylon just got to put his head down and work. Well, has he not been working the entire time? Is that what you're telling us? It makes people in the media job harder. to take something out of that other than the fact that D-Hop didn't answer anything. And I think that's where it becomes a little bit, it's like, all right, you could have gave us something. But in the world of trying to keep peace inside the locker room, and you know that Tyler Boyd's in there, and they got to figure out how they're going to distribute the ball between 4 guys now at minimum, it does somewhat make it problematic, because here's the truth behind Traylon. Traylon can be X'd out easily behind Tajay Spears or Tony Pollard for reps. He could. If you're telling me that Tyler Boyd is one of the best slot wide receivers in the entire NFL and has been and has the tape and track record to show that, the easiest thing is to go D-Hop, Calvin, and Tyler Boyd. And then we got 2, we think, pass-catching running backs. He can easily be on the outside looking there.
And great teams have 2 wide receivers who are competing to be number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are neck and neck battling to be the number 1 wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco are 2 guys who are side by side and battling to be number 1 wide receiver there. It's not a bad thing to have uncertainty at the top of your depth chart from a wide receiver perspective and to throw Treylon Burks into that discussion. Tyler Boyd talked yesterday as well and was asked about teaching the offense that he knows very well. He mentioned the terminology has changed slightly, but it is still the same principles that he ran with Brian Callahan in Cincinnati. He did say, though, that he hasn't been able to teach Levis the offense yet.
Not yet, but I did see him talk about it. I think it allows him to play more freely and more comfortable, because he know that I know the offense. He know that I will be in positions to the field where he expect me to be. I might could have a route that's not where I should be, but I know that's where he want me to be, and I think it'll just help him, progress through his progression, and just I just got to know his brain. I just got to know his brain, and he know mine. If I know he expect me to be 3 more yards from the hash, I'm gonna be there. It's kind of a psychic thing, but that's just based off of the experience of the offense, So I think that'll just help him as well.
I think it's interesting just the level of teaching that this team has at the wide receiver position. You look at a couple of years ago in 2022 when you had Treylon Burks stepping into a very prominent role and being drafted to replace A.J. Brown at that point. He was the number 2 receiver, and as a first-year player, was kind of expected to just follow Robert Woods maybe and do his own thing, right? No longer will you have young wide receivers teaching themselves things or just being taught by the wide receivers coach. I legitimately feel like the Titans have 3 wide receiver coaches who are wearing numbers in Tyler Boyd, in Calvin Ridley, and in DeAndre Hopkins. And that's not been the case here in the past.
That's what's unique. I mean, and that was kind of my point, like to have 3 guys who are good at, certain things that are all competitive, that are all pros who have done this for a while. That's so awesome to have that leadership in there, because even with Robert Woods, and he's a veteran, right? Mm-hmm. But he was also in an offense that was kind of interesting in how they utilized their wide receivers, or like that year he had 500 yards plus leading the way. I mean, that was the top receiver. Things were a little bit interesting in terms of how they did offense and how it was executed. But now you can look and say, you're right, we got a quarterback that's developing, and a lot of our success lies on how he does and how he improves. What can we do to make his job easier? And now you have guys that have done it for so long, it's almost like second nature. When you're on the practice field and you see something you don't like, and vice versa. Will has to learn that with some of these guys too, that he's got to be direct in how he wants things, and that will come with time.
It will. And Will Levis has to be in quarterback heaven. Just being honest with you. He's got some mature wide receivers that want to help him be better at his job without overloading him too. Like, he has to be completely in quarterback heaven. You got one guy that understands the offense, one guy's a potential Hall of Famer, and one guy you just, again, I think Will was you that gave out the stat of teams that got number 1 wide receivers on how they help assist them getting wins. Like, you got real true threats out there. And again, I'd much rather be talking about this type of stuff now than arguing on the sideline because they're not on the same page.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, I think, that's getting nipped in the bud now as far as the operation of the offense. It's all new. Terminology is probably mostly new to Levis, to the O-line, and to everybody that's been here over the last couple of years. I think it's awesome. I think it's unique. The one that's probably in the spin cycle most of all is probably NWI. Like, he's the guy that's been here the longest in this old wide receiver room with this older offense. It's probably he's going through the fire to learn what's new with this team.
And that stat you mentioned from the Tennessean and Nick Suss, who wrote this back in March, from 2000 to 2022, there were 21 rookie quarterbacks who matched Will Levis's profile, picked in the first or second round, started 6 or more games, and won 3 or fewer as rookies. 17 of them went on to start 6 or more games in year 2. 9 of them were successful. 6 of those 9 added a number 1 wide receiver from offseason number 1 to offseason number 2 for their now second-year quarterback. Eli Manning, Marcus Mariota, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence led their squads to winning records after their GM signed a new top receiver. Joe Burrow and Zach Wilson had winning records as starters after their team drafted one. To me, I think now for Will Levis, some of those timing routes, the in-breakers, the comeback routes along the perimeter, you're going to see less of Will Levis telling wide receivers, this is what I want. And you're going to see wide receivers who have been successful at other places say, this is how you need to get me the ball. Trust me, I would know. You wouldn't, I would. You've had 5 different offensive coordinators now in 5 years. Let me help me help you. And I think that bridges a lot of the gap in the amount of different play callers that Levis has had since his last 2 years at Kentucky and now his first 2 years in the NFL.
And that's where the other challenge is going to come in for Levis for me. Can he handle this many voices as a young guy who's still learning, still trying to become a pro that has somewhat that has the pressure of trying to prove that he's a franchise guy? Can he handle that many voices too? That's one thing that I think can be overlooked sometimes in the world of how you become a franchise quarterback is sometimes you just got to tell the guy, hey, shut up.
Are you willing to listen to wide receivers?
Yeah. Or just like I said, not today. I'm not going to you right now. Yeah. I'll come to you, and it's not best for the team. There's an element of that, too, that we got to see out of him.
Yeah, that's a great point.
615-737-1045. Coming up, before we get to Rhett Bryan at 9 o'clock, we will take a look at a big headline outside of Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Tennessee, Vanderbilt. How high are the stakes for Vanderbilt baseball going into an SEC tournament matchup with Tony Vitello's Vols today? That's next.
Hey, it is the absolute worst time of the year to be dealing with joint pain. Heck, none of us like to deal with joint pain at any time of the year. But you just can't do the outdoor stuff that you love to do now that the sun is shining, whether that be hiking, biking, or just playing with the kiddos out at the playground. Hey, it's Kayla Anderson. Don't go through the summer months missing out on life. You can simply call QC Kinetics now and find out how they can use biologics from your own body to give new life to those achy, stubborn joints. QC's regenerative medicine protocols can restore and repair that damaged tissue with, get this, no surgery, no steroids, no drugs, and no downtime. This is the future of medicine, friends. Tens of thousands of QC Kinetics patients around the country, they're living their best life because they simply made the call. QC medical professionals are under the direction of Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup. If you want a little background on him, very interesting. He was an orthopedic surgeon who decided he wanted to do a little bit more for his clients, so he became a true pioneer in regenerative medicine, and boom, here we are. So all you have to do is make the call, free consultation, and you can dial it in, 615-249-4024. That's QC Kinetics at 615-249-4024.
Wrapping up hour 3 with Rhett, Bryan on deck at 9 o'clock right here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 615-737-1045. How you join us? Vanderbilt with a comfortable win over Florida yesterday as SEC tournament action begins in Hoover. It is Tennessee and Vandy. 4:30 this afternoon. In other words, around 5 to 5:30 when Tennessee and Vandy will likely start. Did Vanderbilt punch their ticket officially to an 18th straight NCAA tournament yesterday, Kayla, in your opinion?
Yes, I do believe they were able to do that, and we'll see as, the selection show is, I think, next week early on. But I think at this point, and I had this conversation with you guys off air, the SEC tournament is so interesting because I think a lot of times we can say it doesn't mean anything. And for some teams, it really doesn't, because you saw Georgia bounced early yesterday after their loss to LSU. For them, they know they're in. They're one of the top teams in the country, right? Their body of work is completed.
Yeah.
For other teams that could potentially get hot, that have had a history of maybe getting hot towards the end of the year, Vandy's one of those teams. And I think for them, it's important to win some games in the tournament, not only to solidify a possible spot, but to also gain that confidence back. Because you look at the end of their season and they weren't having great series. They were either getting swept or able to just
get
one win, get the Sunday game right.
Yeah.
So I think this is important for teams like that who are trying to gain some momentum going in to the NCAA tournament. So yeah, I think they did solidify a spot in it. Now what they want to do with it, that's up to them.
Whenever they won their natties, if you can remember clearly, like, did SEC tournament play, was it important, or has that model changed recently where it's like, all right, get in, get out, save pitching, and get rest? Did they win the SEC tournament that year too, if you can remember?
So I covered the 2019 team in the national championship. I don't remember, and I'm looking for stuff right now too.
They did win it in 2019.
Okay,
so they just powered through.
So which is really interesting, actually, in terms of winning the SEC tournament, playing that many games, and then being able to carry that through the actual NCAA tournament. Remember that year too, a very special team in the terms of who you had as your pitchers in Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter.
Yeah.
So they actually are the last team to win the SEC tournament and then make Omaha in the same season. 2019 is the last time that happened. And when you look at the breakdown of it, though, 2020 there wasn't one, so that kind of takes one of those years out.
Sure.
Arkansas very famously did not make the 2021 College World Series. Tennessee very famously did not make the 2022 College World Series after winning the SEC tournament. And then Vanderbilt last year got knocked out early after winning the SEC tournament. So that's more of a recent thing. I think today it'll be interesting. Tennessee likely to throw a bullpen game. We don't know the announced starters for either team, and Vandy threw their ace, Bryce Cunningham, yesterday, showcasing again, it's single elimination, so oftentimes you do throw your best pitcher when you're in the single elim round. This is the double elim round, so Tennessee can lose today and still be guaranteed a game tomorrow. You're guaranteed at least 2 games, which is a positive where you don't have to totally have your pitchers just sitting there doing nothing while the rest of the SEC tournament goes on if you go 1 and done or 2 and done in this case. But we talked to Eric Kane of VolQuest earlier this week about what Tennessee's plans would be for today's game, and namely how that would affect Franklin, Tennessee's A.J. Russell.
Yeah, we've been on A.J. Russell watch for about a week now as he's continuing to, work himself back. He's been, he had that incredible – he was the opening day starter. He had that incredible 10-strikeout effort in 4 innings on opening day. And then his second start of the year, he was removed due to soreness, missed, I want to say about his next 3 starts, came back, had 2 appearances, then he's been out ever since. So it's been a frustrating year for A.J. Russell because – he's arguably the most talented pitcher on the roster for Tennessee. So he's been doing some bullpens. He's been doing some live BP against Tennessee hitters, and he's been working himself back in the fold. I believe that Tennessee will throw a bullpen game on Wednesday, and I think that's when you're going to see A.J. Russell, in my opinion. Of course, that can always change, but I think you'll see bullpen game for Tennessee on Wednesday, and then for the remainder of the games that they're down there, they'll go back to kind of their their regular quote unquote starting rotation for games on Thursday and Saturday and Sunday potentially. So we'll see. But AJ Russell, Tony Vitello wants to get him in there. He'll be on a strict pitch count. He'll pitch probably an inning or two and just try to get his feet under him a little bit and try to get him back in the rotation so that when regional play comes around the following weekend, you'll have another arm and a really good arm at that to use at your disposal to where if you need him to start a game and really open a game or pitch some middle relief or maybe towards the end of the game come in and slam the door shut, you'll have that option in AJ Russell. So I expect to see him this weekend in Hoover. Right now, I think it could probably be on Wednesday, but of course that's subject to change. But if I'm a Tennessee fan, that's another reason why I'll be going to Hoover because you are going to probably see AJ Russell.
And that is the biggest thing Tennessee can get out of today. Tennessee is locked into being a top 3 seed overall in the NCAA tournament. I believe the latest projections had them as the number 2 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. But Tony Vitello said Sunday after Tennessee's sweep of South Carolina, we are looking for 5, maybe 6 outs a week from A.J. Russell that can support our staff if he's called on to do so. So understandably keeping expectations low. I would expect Vanderbilt to go back to one of their weekend starters perhaps today, and then Tennessee try to just piece this thing together with bullpen arms. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
I'm always excited, though, when those two come together. I don't care when it is at time of the season. It always is fun. So I love postseason baseball anyway.
And the win over Florida is a significant one because Florida finished the season very well.
They were hot at the end, right?
I believe 5 straight SEC series wins, or that was LSU that won 5 straight. LSU won every series after they lost to Tennessee and got swept. And Florida had a similar end to the season where Tennessee was really the only team to get them. Late.
And Bryce Cunningham, who is the ace, has also been inconsistent. Yeah. And that was really good seeing him get that many innings out of him on Tuesday or Monday.
Coming up, Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio joins us breaking down OTAs in hour 4.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson for the Wang Vision Institute. We'll talk about your eye healthcare in just a minute, but when it comes to your skin healthcare, they can help you out in that aspect too. Actually popped in there the other day, got my second intense pulse light treatment. If you're wondering what that is, because it kind of sounds intense, it's super simple. Non-invasive treatment. Maybe you have dealt with some sunspots over the years. Hyperpigmentation, definitely a thing a lot of us go through. This will actually help you even out the skin tone. Like I said, 20 to 30 minutes, you're out the door and you're good to go. For more information on that, you can check out wangvisioninstitute.com. Also, when it comes to your eye health care, something that a lot of us put off, they are great. From the front desk to the doctors, they'll get you headed in the right direction. They actually have a free seminar that takes place every Tuesday at 6:45 p.m. So you can go ahead, you can schedule that consultation, you can schedule your IPL treatment today at wangvisioninstitute.com.
What's going on? 9 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans were on the field for OTAs yesterday. Afterwards, took a little pit stop to talk to the media. Tyler Boyd, the newest addition, wide receiver, was asked what made him feel so comfortable in choosing the Titans, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I knew they was always interested from the beginning, knowing that Callahan came and just having a guy that knows the system, and that can come out here and help guys. That was a favorable team that I would want to be a part of because of him and the system. I know it real well, and everywhere I went was cool and fine. It felt good, but this just felt like home to me.
Speaking of playmakers, quite a few sitting out of their OTAs. Cowboys missing CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons. 49ers facing a similar situation. Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk nowhere to be seen at organized team activity in San Francisco. But head coach Kyle Shanahan is not worried, citing to a 2022 offseason where Debo took a similar approach to getting paid, and it paid off. He's still a 49er. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals last night, and Pacers choke. Up 3 with 11 seconds to go. Jaylen Brown, it's a huge 3 to send it to overtime. Celtics take it from there, 133 to 128. Game 2 still in Boston. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth quarter of the show, fourth and final hour, Wednesday morning. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW brewed up by 8th and Roast. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, Will Bowling, joined as always on Wednesdays in hour number 4 by the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan. A well-traveled man who we bothered on vacation, tweeting like he was on the show, and me at 5:30 in the morning did not think through, obviously, Rhett being at the happiest place on earth. Welcome back. How are you?
It was great. My daughter had a fantastic vacation, went to the Space Coast, went to see Mickey and Mickey Mouse and hang out at Disney for a couple days, and then we went to Cocoa Beach, and that was crazy because I hadn't been back to Kennedy Space Center in a long time. I was a young teenager. And so we happened to go on a day where they were doing a SpaceX rocket launch. Whoa. And we got to see that from the pier at Cocoa Beach. So it was really cool, but glad to be back in the saddle. Let's see what's happened. Schedule came out, OTAs yesterday. So, yeah. And I'm interested to hear your opinion, Kayla. Little different vibe yesterday. You can tell there's a new regime, new head coach, new way of doing things, and it was interesting to kind of see them start to peel back the layers of all that.
Yeah, I was telling them too, it is always interesting. You've covered the team for so many years, and you've seen those coaching changes and how things kind of changed around practice and all of the things that go along with it. We get into a routine, and me specifically with Vrabel, of how things were done under that regime and practices, and even going down to the details of the little types of music that plays during certain things like warm-ups and stuff like that. It is different, and in a good way. I felt refreshed a little bit in terms of just watching some of the different units, how they are practicing, what's been incorporated in terms of these individual drills, because we also got used to certain things with that. So I did feel it was a little more calm. And I'm not saying that in a bad way.
No, there's just been a reset in this.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the most intense area where I've spent some time, and you have too, is the offensive line group. And that's like an intensity that's really energetic in a way. It's almost like, I would never do this, guys, but I want to put myself out there and compete with these guys.
Oh, definitely.
because Bill
Definitely go out of that.
Which position you playing on the line, Taylor?
put a lot of pads on me. Let's go.
Now let
But
me
you
say
get what I'm
this.
saying with that?
You want to take Olga or Bertha?
Olga and Bertha are about 350 pounds apiece.
Yes.
I'm not even sure I could push that up, but I would
don't even
pay good
want
money
that.
to see you push that up.
I want to get in there because I feel like when you're watching them push those sleds too, it's not like they're getting all of this like stuff from the outside. Like all the other guys that are watching it happen, there's a lot of like, hey, let's go. Come on, guys. You know, it's like a group effort there and people are getting excited and it's hard as hell. But I like the energy that's coming out of that area of the practice field.
The thing that strikes me is that Bill Callahan, he's teaching chess. He ain't teaching checkers here. And
yeah.
I think those guys will tell you, even the vets. I'm sure Lloyd Cushenberry told you this morning. They're learning things maybe they had never picked up along the way. And let me say this, I should apologize profusely to Ramon because I did not see your missed call till like 52 minutes later.
Said too.
And I said, I just realized I just missed your call, thinking you were over there at the O-line group because I never went over there yesterday because I wanted to, I went and looked at running backs coach Randy Jordan for a little bit just to see what that looks like. Because it's different now. No 22s there. So, and I love that number 2 on Tajay. That's a sleek little number right there. I like
Touche Spears.
Ooh.
Yes. Touche. I like that.
I like that.
But then I heard you this morning where you were being an excellent citizen and following directions. I almost took a detour off of I-24 to one of the mini supply places and got you the yellow highlighted vest and a hard hat so you can just guilt-free just drive and blow through it.
I love it.
But yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on at Metro Center.
Me either.
But I'm like, why are we? So there's one lane of every one of those things open where those signs are, and you just go down it's usually on the left lane. So
It's deceiving though.
I
bless
told
your heart,
them,
you were frustrated as hell by the
because
time.
I was already frustrated because I told you guys I'm gonna go pick up a quick snack, got an iced coffee and something to snack on real quick, Rhett. And lo and behold, I'm ready to go see the big boys and just watch this whole practice and roadblock. And I was like, all right, let me go around. Drove into the industrial parking lot around those places and stuff. No exit. I was like, where's the bridge? I see the building. Yeah. I see there's got to be a road somewhere.
And you see people out there and you see practice. And
then the Cigna business is over there too. Yeah. So I drove in that parking lot. I was like, cool, there's got to be a ramp. I saw nobody walking down the street in the construction work area. I was like, so I guess I can go that way. I legitimately I was beyond frustrated yesterday.
And to Kayla's point, I don't know what they're working on.
I don't either.
Like, I don't see, there's not like a massive hole in the street and things are torn up. There's dirt overturned in places. I don't know what's going on, but
crazy.
Next time, just be a bad citizen and just blow past that sign and roll right in there.
Yeah, as long as there's no human beings there.
I think our next opportunity, if I'm not mistaken, is next Wednesday, a week from today. Yeah. So we will, because I want to go over and watch Bill Callahan work with those guys. And that's also the back portion of the practice field where Tracy Rocker works with the D-line.
I want to see them too. Mm-hmm. Because I've heard so much.
It's kind of a 2-for-1 back in that corner back there. And we talked to Sebastian Joseph Day yesterday. And
heard had a good day yesterday too for what you can take from it.
Yes. And spoke extremely highly of Tracy Rocker. In fact, you were the one to ask a question, right?
He lit up on that.
But yeah, that's some stuff. But yeah, we got to get you in front of seeing Bertha and Olga. Because we were there at rookie minicamp and him introducing those two sleds, those two things to those. I saw Xavier Gadlin as the undrafted offensive lineman from Liberty via Tulsa. And his eyes were as big as dinner plates going, what in the world? Because, the thing is, they hate those things already. You would hate them. Knowing what you did for a living,
I know
you would hate them because you have to get down so low. And then the epaulettes where you have to push your hands at the points of, and then that thing is, oh my gosh. And again, they're like 350 pounds.
Man, I hated doing the shoots, and that had no weight on it. That just had to get your pad leverage.
But these
so,
are things.
I hated the shoots, right? I can only imagine this machine.
And these are things that Bill Callahan has patented, designed. They're his babies.
It's like Hannibal Lecter out here, huh?
Right? Wow. So impressive.
True sicko with this type of stuff.
The really sad part about you not making it to practice yesterday, Ramon, was that Coach Mack was counting on you.
I know.
Did you get a call?
Coach Mack called Ramon mid-show yesterday, Rhett.
He did.
Hey, I can't make it. Need you to watch the big man for me. Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah,
and that was it. So tomorrow at 7:20, we're going to have to explain to one Coach Dave McGinnis why Ramon Foster let him down.
All right, so I just got a text from Amy Wells. She feels your pain. Listen to this. Bridge maintenance is the issue around the facility. I pulled a Ramon and circled Metro Center for 45 minutes on the first day.
Oh, gosh.
The bridge that's over the lake. So the bridge that's right next to the bubble there, I guess is what we're talking about.
I told you.
Thanks for the
Mystery
clarity,
solved,
Amy.
yeah.
Thank you, Amy.
So
I
Amy
on
was trying to be a good
Clarksville
sister.
Highway.
I'm just riding dirty as
Just
hell. I'm just
follow
like,
Amy
I know,
in,
me
and
too.
she will make way for you.
I may have blown through a
leave
stop
block.
sign or something. I don't know. But no, I'm just like, well, I don't know what this is, but I got to get over there. So see ya.
Yeah.
See, look at me trying to follow rules.
Until homeboy comes out in a vest and a hard hat going, you can't come in here. I'm going in there.
Hey,
So,
like Austin Stanley told me earlier, let's pull the Scotty Scheffler.
I know, seriously.
how wild was that story last week?
Incredible.
I cannot wait until Ramon Foster's got a mugshot. We can sell on
Please.
T-shirts.
Would you smile in it?
I would 100% because I'm belling now. Okay, I'm belling now.
Yes.
You feel me? I'm like Scotty out here. I'm smiling from cheek
Yes.
to cheek.
I'm
out
telling
here.
you,
I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm leaving it with some. Put me on the shirt.
I'm telling you right now, if that happens, we are making shirts of your mugshot, and I am wearing a free Ramon shirt.
We are streaming. When we bail you out, we are streaming it live on Zone TV because that would be a draw. 615-737-1045. More OTAs takeaways with Rhett Bryan, including one thing Lloyd Cushenberry told us earlier this morning. That's next.
It's Ramon Foster here for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Here to just ask you this simple question. Have you ever had a contractor supposedly come into your house within an hour and a time slot, and they don't show up, and you're sitting there waiting forever all day long, and you feel like you wasted your entire day? Well, guess what? With Hiller, you don't have those issues. Whenever you get your appointment, they stick to them. They'll call you, give you a 15-minute warning, and they're about to show up to the house, send you a picture of them, the license plate of the vehicle they'll be driving, and everything is settled. You don't have to waste your time waiting on them. And also this month, you can be a happy camper with Hiller with 0 interest financing for 24 months on select HVAC systems, generators, and tankless water heaters, which are clutch to water is instantly hot, okay? Or simply take advantage of Hiller's $99 drain cleaning special. Take care of your home systems before the peak summer temperatures hit, and we are close, Tennessee. Visit happyhiller.com today for details.
Fourth hour of Ramon, Kayla, and Will as we roll right through your Wednesday morning. 615-737-1045. If you've got a Titans question for Rhett Bryan, who joins us in studio. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you. Rhett, you mentioned the difference in how practice is under Brian Callahan. I saw Terry McCormick tweet a bit tongue-in-cheek yesterday that he saw more pass plays yesterday in one practice than you would see weeks at a time, perhaps under previous administrations.
That's a bit of an exaggeration, but he's leaning towards that being true. Yeah.
How much just specific, like 7-on-7 kind of stuff were you guys able to see yesterday?
They didn't do a whole lot of 7-on-7 stuff because they're early enough in this thing. It was a lot of just, quarterbacks to receivers kind of deal. What I saw the most of outside of those individual drills like that was working on punt stuff and punt protection and returns and those kinds of things. But I'm sure there'll be, I guarantee you, when we go next Wednesday, there'll be another layer involved in all this. So, but yeah, I think just seeing the old faces, I think that was the thing that I took away the most is like, there's a handful of old, like Chiga Conquo's the old guy there now.
I know.
It's weird.
Wild.
It's very weird. Rashad Weaver, same thing.
Yeah.
Rashad Weaver,
Dude,
by the way.
I didn't even know who he was at first. Not going to lie.
When I was taking roll, just looking out on the far end of the field when they were in stretch and stuff, I'm like, he's still wearing 99, right? I'm like, holy Moses. He looks great.
He slimmed down.
I think he's trying to improve that get off.
I 100% agree.
Interesting.
Look, his body looks completely different. He looks like a different
He
person.
said he was going to attack it this offseason. That's big for him.
And hard to believe, but already a contract year for him.
This is 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is 4 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Rhett, to that point about punting and special teams, no Stoney yet. Ryan Stonehouse just yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
I saw him, though. Did you see him?
Yeah, he was doing a little bit of stuff before we were allowed to come in, and then he went inside to do work on rehab and things. I think I caught a glimpse of a punt before we walked in there. I think he's close. So
nice.
He looks
which
good.
Would be fantastic in terms of a time track.
Yeah.
Because, I think he had his surgery middle of December. So
it's about right.
He's just now at the 6-month mark. So, but yeah, knock on wood, hopefully he is ready to get in there and kind of get back to where he was and then, of course, build off of
Plant
that.
leg, not punt leg.
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
all right, yeah.
We talked to Lloyd Cushenberry earlier this morning. If you missed that conversation, you could download it wherever you download podcasts and search for Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And we asked Lloyd about what it is like to play for Bill Callahan, and the Titans center had this to say.
Very, very, very detailed, and the work we put in pre-practice, post-practice is like I've never been a part of something like this. We're out there 15, 20 minutes before, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes after. And it's a nonstop, just getting better every single day. And he's hard on us, so it makes us all better.
So, Rhett, I wanted to ask you specifically, as much as we hear about the teaching that's going on at practice right now from this staff, from Bill Callahan, from Tracy Rocker, who we talked about, Tyke Tolbert, and the veteran wide receivers, how much of that just is the time of year that we are in? It's May 22nd. You're working on fundamentals, on technique. How much of that, though, also is just this staff's MO and the way you feel like they are always going to go about their business?
It's a small sample size, but I feel like it's a combination of both. Just because we don't know what their tendencies are and their coaching styles are in a larger sample size. But yeah, if this is how it starts, I would say this is going to be kind of consistent with at least some of what we're going to see. You look here's the other thing that I got to thinking about it when I'm looking through this roster and I'm just trying to familiarize myself with numbers.
I know, right?
There's some guys that were, on IR that you forget about, like Kearis Jackson.
Mm-hmm. I saw him out there.
5. Oh, yeah, Kearis Jackson. That's right. He's still here.
Yeah.
Caleb Varley was out there practicing yesterday. And, but yeah, I think their style, and I'm sure they have exactly what their regimen practice schedule is like from day to day. And obviously, this is where they start doing the installation of things, and then they test all of that in that mandatory mini camp coming up here in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's different. It's different from what Mike Vrabel did, and you're like, but Rhett, they changed head coaches. Yes, they did. That's right. And so you would anticipate that there's some change.
What do you notice about Will Levis, watching him out there right now?
I think there's a level of confidence there, but not over the top, being extra cocky, if you will. He just looks like he's ready to, and he should be able to look like that. I mean, he had 9 starts, right? So I don't know. I see an intensity there. I didn't see him necessarily cutting up, and while the vibe wasn't, he was very chill, very loose, but they were all going to work. They were doing their thing. In fact, when we talked to Tony Pollard after practice on the field, he said that's the vibe you get throughout the whole thing, not just in our running back position group, is that the visions are aligned in terms of we know what we have to do, we know what the job is. Everybody's chipping in, doing their part, trying to do the best that they can do. But Will Levis, there's some piece of equipment they use post-practice where they put this belt on him, and it's attached to this long cord that's in this box. And I think it's an analytic thing. And he's running a kind of a sprint deal on the Forbidden Practice field 3, or 1, whichever one
Forbidden
it is.
Forest,
yeah. Where the guys who are dinged up are working through. But anyway, I see him running like he's, a bull crashing the gates, man. Yeah. Just, he's intense. He certainly seems like he's locked on. And why wouldn't he be? He's supposed to be the guy.
Right.
And your guy, Mason Rudolph?
Yeah.
I knew he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's been around for a while. The dude can throw the ball.
Yeah. He can spin it. He can spin it. And I thought he grew a lot last year. Heck, when you sitting behind guys, you either get better by watching them mimicking certain things or just saying, I'd do this, I wouldn't do that. I think that's one thing of his evolution as a backup and just NFL player that I think has taken a better step for him. And Mason, early on, I felt like didn't know how to hit the in-between, those 7-yard slants and stuff like that. And I thought we got an opportunity to see that out of him last year. And again, you look at a situation where the backup quarterback has to be valid enough for you to be able to continue your season if he has to go into a game. And I think that's what they got out of a guy like Mason. I don't think he's going to – well, both of them are in a similar situation. It's Levis' squad. And Levis has to grow and show as his too. But he'll have a guy behind him that'll quietly be competitive in Mason. And I'll just leave it at that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what in the little micro sample I saw yesterday, what you want to see from Will Levis is some of what I saw from Mason Rudolph. But a guy that is in year 7 and is a veteran and has been there and done that, both as a starter and a backup in situations, and knows where he's supposed to be. The whole learning to be a pro kind of thing.
Yeah,
and there'll be another layer of that for Will Levis this year, just in a different respect.
And you know how it goes in this league. I'm surprised Bryan Callahan hasn't seen that.
It happens.
I know.
Bryan Callahan hadn't said that. Is the conversation of what you did in year 1 won't impress me in year 2. And to your point about being a pro for Levis, and I guess it's probably a deeper conversation for all of us to have at some point. What is his year 2 supposed to look like for a franchise quarterback? What he did last year, jumping out 4 touchdowns in a game, all right, cool. Go win the game. You know what I'm saying? Those are the types of things that we want to see out of him moving forward. Can you string together win streaks? How you bounce back from a bad loss. Those are the things I think in year 2 Will Levis is going to need to do, as you say, hardening yourself on being better pros. And I think he's very capable of doing that, and we should be able to see it.
Well, and with Mason Rudolph being put in the position that Will Levis was last year, and, I'm sure that got dicey at a time or two because this is Ryan Tannehill being, seated as the starting quarterback. That the competitive stuff is we don't hear as much about that.
Good.
But that's where I think, Mason Rudolph has been brought in here to be the backup, but also will push him. I think there's different things that he can glean from Mason Rudolph.
Sure.
Rather than from Ryan Tannehill, just because they're two different people, two different quarterbacks, two different philosophies possibly. And that's where I say, there's some things that, Will hasn't learned everything yet. And he'd tell you that.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to the tight end room, something we hadn't talked a lot about, at least today, what do you see out of, first of all, Josh Wiley, great catch. He had, I think it was during 7-7s.
Yeah.
Wiley looks like he's put on a little bit of weight. Clearly had dealt with some injuries last year. Chigakonkwo clearly has something to prove. What are you seeing out of this tight end group in terms of who could really emerge?
Well, I'm telling you, and again, this is a one, OTA practice sample.
Yeah.
But Nick Vanette,
yep,
that they brought in, the veteran.
He's a big dude, by the way.
And you remember when he signed, he talked about, I don't want to be known just as a blocking tight end. He had a couple nice catches yesterday. Like, nice, And so I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe that's somebody, because Nick Vanette is, what is he, in year 9, I think? Yeah.
I covered him at Ohio State. That's how old I am.
Don't tell on yourself.
I know.
Well, Chris Davis' son at Auburn just got an offer yesterday from Auburn, so everyone's getting up there.
We're getting up there,
anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about the things I've seen. I'm watching second and third generation players get drafted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just he could be a stabilizing force in that group of tight ends. And look, I still think Chigakonkwo can be the true leader in that group. I think he needs to take a step forward. I'm sure that's what he's working on. And Josh Wiley can only help. I mean, to your point, if he's put some LBs on, because he's pretty, he's kind of wiry. He's tall and lean. And, guys taller like that are usually higher hipped anyway, which, can make some things a little more difficult in terms of fluidity and short space. But, I still think Chig can be the guy. I do. And the thing is, all of these guys we're mentioning, all of them have a chance, because to Terry McCormick's tweet, we're going to see a lot of passing, and it's not just, and look, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears are going to be catching them out of the backfield too. I really like the Tony Pollard move to begin with. I thought he was the best back in Dallas before Zeke Elliott ever left. In that last couple of years Zeke was there. I know he's back for a second tour of duty, because it's the more you can do. It's the more you can do and the more you know. And that's the other part. Those running backs, when I was watching Randy Jordan, the running backs coach, work with them yesterday, we have Dylan Johnson, the undrafted from Washington, that most everybody knows because Washington played in the national championship. And I think one of the reasons he wasn't drafted is he doesn't have that long track speed, but that's not his game. That's not what you're looking for. But who is that third running back that they'll use as a thumper in goal line situations? Because they still have Hassan Haskins, who is back out there working, and then Julius Chestnut. And that person, whoever that is going to have to play special teams.
Absolutely.
And I would think Julius Chestnut has the leg up there because he's been there and done that. Hassan lost a year last year, and and Dylan is a rook. But that'll be an interesting battle to kind of watch as we get closer to the meat and potatoes of training camp.
Hassan out of college, though, and I think he ended up getting a return in either preseason or regular season game his rookie year. He has that under his belt.
Regular season.
He does.
He did that in the regular season.
So. Have we seen that yet, too, right? The setup, or Kayla, the setup of kick returns, the new rules being implemented. Or have they done full team sessions on that yet? Probably
I didn't see a lot of that yesterday.
Yeah, that's probably pre-practice
specifically.
Stuff.
But what are we guessing, Rhett? I mean, in terms of returners, Jaquan Jackson is going to be that. I think they'll give Kieris an opportunity to compete back there. I was a guy that was in for a minute. I'm not sure that
we can actually say who was,
Yeah, I'm spitting out names.
Yeah, I think Jaquan Jackson, because of his resume, yes. Kearis Jackson, because he did it last year. Eric Guerrer, because he did it last year. Obviously, Kyle Phillips, because he has done it before. And Mason Kinsey, because he's done it before.
Yep.
I'd look at that group first when we're talking about return mid-period, much less punt, and kind of go from there. But, yeah, you're right. All of those guys, especially outside of Jaquan, hadn't done it at this level, but all those other guys have. But, special teams.
That's a whole nother thing.
It is. It absolutely is. And that's the thing I haven't gotten used to is some of the assistant coaches. Like, I can put faces and names together with a few of them, but I haven't really learned all that yet.
Rhett, what did you notice from watching Randy Jordan, Titans running backs coach? You mentioned you watched them a lot yesterday, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. Randy Jordan's been in Washington for the last 10 seasons since 2014 working with the running backs there. What specifically did you notice watching that position group go to work yesterday?
I think just a different style than what, even though Tony Dews had moved to tight ends last year, just, what that difference in philosophy, difference in importance of drills. And some of the drills were the same that are institutional, fundamental type things. But an emphasis clearly yesterday on eyes and feet and hands as it pertains to not just carrying out of the backfield, but for catching out of the backfield. And not that Tony Dews didn't do that before, but you can just you can tell this is going to be a different animal.
Sure.
This whole thing is going to be different. This is not going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust like we've been used to. The run game will still be a major part of it. It has to be. But with the emphasis on extending yourself and being a 3-down back is the biggest part of this. And that's the thing I think I'm excited about is Tajay did so well his rookie year. Tony Pollard is a seasoned veteran. And that's why I couldn't get people to understand about the departure or potential departure at the time of Derrick Henry is that Derrick has never been a 3-down back. It's not his fault. That's just not his game.
It's not his game.
Well, is this thing here, you can shift on the fly. A guy needs to take a rest. You can roll another guy in and you keep trucking. There is consistency.
Nothing changes.
Right. You can keep rolling.
You know what I thought was interesting, too? Somebody had brought up to Tony Pollard, and I asked Pollard about him and Spears being similar in the way they do things, and he was very complimentary of Tajay Spears and working with him. He was also then asked about just being in a different type of market, because remember, Pollard comes from Dallas, where the spotlight is on you all the time. He said, I actually love kind of being that more of a small market guy. He goes, that's kind of what I'm about.
Well, he's a Memphis guy.
Yeah.
So first of all, he's back home. And yeah, when you go out from under the microscope that is under that star glazed helmet, it's got to be a refreshing thing for him.
Sure.
And I noticed somebody else asked him about the trio of receivers when you're talking about Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, and Calvin Ridley. And it's like, well, y'all have forgotten that they had a pretty good trio of receivers there between CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. And, they had some horses in that stable too. But yeah, you can tell he is very glad to be in his native state. Just down the road from where he started cutting his teeth and making his name as a football player. And that's got to be a contrast in this, to go from that to the Titans. And I would think it would be a refreshing reset for him. And he talked about, he goes, you look at all the stars that are around this in the offense, all these weapons. He said, this could be really fun. This could be a lot of fun. Be a lot better than who was it posted somebody posted today a 2-15 record for the Titans.
Yeah, it was some algorithm in a system that
I'm like
had the Titans at 2-15.
I don't know that they're look.
Crunch those numbers again for me.
I'm not
please.
I'm not captain pick a number, but I think they move off of 6 wins and improve. I don't know how much, but they're not winning just 2. I mean, all hell has had to break loose before we get to 2-15.
Knock on wood right now, but yes, I agree.
All right, here, let me knock on my skull. There's the wood.
Rhett Bryan in studio with us Wednesdays here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Rhett, good to have you back. Thank you.
Thanks,
good
Rhett.
to be here. let's get motivated.
We got midweek motivation coming up, and all I will say is there is a brewery that is causing quite a buzz with something they're doing, and I'll explain what I mean coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster here for Wesley Mortgage. I'm going to give you the website. It's whywesley.com, man. And Chuck McDowell, he's the owner of Wesley Mortgage, man. He's a local Nashville native, cares about this community, and is proud to serve it, man. Chuck, he reinvests in the people and the place that make Nashville such a wonderful place. While other mortgage companies are downsizing, Chuck McDowell and the Wesley Mortgage team are rapidly expanding in Nashville, keeping people working in a career that they love. And they love to have you join their team. Chuck and the leadership team at Wesley Mortgage have a support system in place to help you succeed in the mortgage business, ensuring your loans close on time, making sure you get paid, and giving you back the time to build your business and bring back the fun to the mortgage profession. They have unique networking opportunities with the Tennessee Titans and Music City Grand Prix, and they make closing deals and building relationships fun again. So, if you're in the mortgage industry and you're tired of the grind, tired of the pressure, and tired of just micromanaging everything to make sure your clients get handled correctly, then you owe it to yourself to visit whywesley.com.
Wrapping up the show, and before you ask, no, Tennessee has not yet gotten a commitment from the big basketball player on the market, Chaz Lanier.
Uh-oh.
It's Ramon, Kalen, Will, RKW, brewed up by 8th and Rose. There is a fake news account that consistently tweets out Tennessee news, and he has just gotten people again. I saw we had one question for it on YouTube. A fake reporter tweeted that Chaz Lanier had committed to Tennessee. That has not yet happened.
So you want me to cancel the band? Guys, you got to turn around and no, guys, not yet. Get out of here.
Premature Rocky Top.
Oh,
You want me to cancel the band?
I don't know what's wrong with them.
So give it when there is news on Chaz Lanier, you will hear it here, of course. And I would still be surprised. I'll say that I would be surprised if he goes elsewhere than Tennessee. But I expect him to be involved, but it hasn't happened yet.
That is hilarious. That account on Twitter is by far one of. I've seen numerous people get got by that guy.
Mm-hmm. It happens all the time.
I don't understand how it's. I don't know. I think
even now,
most people in Tennessee, I would expect, should know.
The year of our Lord, 2024. Did you guys see what a local brewery is doing with cicadas?
No.
No.
So a local brewery is creating a buzz. I said that before the break. With cicada-infused Merlot. That is right. Noon Whistle Brewing tweets out or puts on Facebook, introducing cicada-infused Merlot, available now at their pub. Prepare yourself for a once-in-a-lifetime experience with their locally harvested cicada-infused Merlot, lobster-like flavor sensation, they say. With these 17-year-old virgin cicadas bring a flavor reminiscent of succulent lobster to this insanely delicious concoction, they say. Believe it or not, they taste like that. They taste like lobster. They say you might be surprised to learn eating cicadas is not only safe, but nutritious. Packed with protein and low in fat, cicadas are a sustainable and eco-friendly food source. Name your price. How much would you have to be paid to try this drink, cicada-infused Merlot?
They got to give me a C note. I need 100.
Come on. You've had tequila with worms in it. I know the kind of game you've got.
I'm familiar with your game.
But here's the thing. Like, you people, okay, and I say you people for the ones that do this type of stuff, okay? In any particular way you want to take that. Y'all write these things and send it out and tweet it out and market it to make us believe that something's better than the original of what we had. Absolutely. That's why we're in the position we're in with streaming right now. You made us think we needed a single subscription. Okay, I ain't letting off of them, okay?
On that one.
I'm just like, don't tell me that cricket flour is better than regular flour, okay? I don't want any cricket flour cookies, okay?
No.
And we're doing the exact same. You mean to tell who drinks a lobster liquid?
That's disgusting.
So apparently it's actually a tequila. It's not a Merlot.
That's even
it's
more
a
disgusting.
Malort.
No.
Not a Merlot.
We already got
Don't
worms
ruin my
in 'em.
tequila experience. I am a tequila girl, but let me stick to the tequila that actually makes me do tequila things.
Blue agave plant is all we want.
Y'all ever ate the worm out of a tequila?
No.
I've done a snake shot, like a snake skin in a bottle of tequila.
You hate snakes.
I do, yeah.
That's why you devour them.
Absolutely.
Why you devour them.
It's not that bad. They just taste like liquor. Like in high school, when I used to steal my dad's moonshine, he used to have you would put fruit, huh?
You think this is
We used to
surprising?
do what?
Steal the liquor in his cabinet, which was a fruit variety. You would when you go to the parties, you'd be like, "Oh, somebody eat this fruit! Somebody eat this fruit! Eat this strawberry! I promise, it tastes just like a strawberry." They all taste like rubbing alcohol. It's been sitting in there so long. You're not gonna taste bug. There might be a little crunch. There ain't gonna be no taste to it. Just do it. Just do it.
I mean, it tastes like lobster, according to this place.
Succulent lobster too. Now
I love lobster. I don't want to drink lobster.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you ever, you know what lobsters look gross as hell before you cook them too?
That's
They're
true.
little sea bugs. You ever seen a prawn?
Yeah.
They are
true.
sea bugs.
And they look so much better
Have you
in
seen
the
an
pan.
oyster?
Yeah.
Those are, ugh.
And I love oysters.
I do too.
Oysters are
I love
fantastic.
oysters, but
Wrong
they
with
look
you?
not great.
Only Rockefeller, okay? It's the only kind we do.
$20, I'd give it a try.
100.
Okay. Should
But
we
you
get
got to
them to-
pay me $20. I'm not paying the 20.
Okay.
I will not be there.
Well, I ain't paying the dub, man.
I think they should get them to send it here. We'll do it on air.
You do it. I ain't doing it on air.
Will do it on air.
Oh, Lord.
All right, I'm being signed up for a lot of things by myself here. I ain't doing anything solo.
Bert will, though. Bert will do
we either
anything.
try as a show or we don't try at all.
Fine, I'll try to be a team player.
Let's try it.
I'll do it.
This place is
To be
not
a team
in
player.
Nashville, to be fair.
Oh,
but
shoot.
You said 20, Will. Like, push it up to 100.
No, I'm good.
Then you got me.
Man, do what you want when you pop it. I'm good.
25 a piece will do it for me.
So that is how we end the show this morning. Cicada infused tequila. I had never seen Malort before. I did not know what that was, but that's okay.
I thought, real quick, Rhett made a good idea, though. Somebody on Broadway needs to make a cicada type of drink. It doesn't have to have cicada in it.
I'm
but
sure
it can
soon
look,
somebody will make a bus that looks like a cicada, and you'll be seeing bachelorettes riding around on a big bus-shaped cicada.
It would be
on Broadway.
cicada. Duh. Where were you guys going to ride on? I'm not going to no trolley. I'm going to cicada.
So we're joined now by Inky Johnson, Midweek Motivation.
Get out right
that
now.
was bad, F.
Inky, cicada-infused tequila. What do you think?
Man, I'm going to let y'all have it, man. But I've been listening.
See?
I'm going to let y'all have it.
See, my dog, we room together for a reason. I'm telling you, we room together for a reason.
No doubt, no doubt. An honor to be on. I'm going to start us off with a quote, man. It says, don't waste your time comparing yourself to other people when oftentimes your guide should be your own growth. You know, it says comparison is the thief of. And so I said a quote earlier in the week, you know, I was sharing with some people. I said, man, if you forget the language of gratitude, you'll never be on speaking terms with happiness. If you forget the language of gratitude, you'll never be on speaking terms with happiness. To ask people, man, like, what are you grateful for? Like, really grateful in situations and circumstances and just in everyday life. What are you grateful for? And I often tell people, we know what to do when things go our way. We know what to do when things play in our favor. But oftentimes when it doesn't, then we reveal our true character. And I challenge people to find a reason, right? Find a reason to be doesn't go your way. Find a reason to find joy when people don't treat you to be true. Find a reason to extract value from situations and circumstances so you can the environment you go into and every person's life that you come in contact with when things don't play in your favor. Never forget, man. Forget the language of gratitude. You'll never be on speaking terms. Happiness. Go be great. That's my time. Thanks.